Welcome to the Fit Dads Podcast. My name is Ryan Dutton. I'm joined by the usual suspect, Mr. Brad Thompson, and our guest today is Luke Staton.
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 I love it.
No,
yes.
I've got it.
Keep that in.
I've got it wrong already.
Keep that on.
That's not the first time as well.
But what's interesting is that you'll see multiple times at events I've been to, when the person that announces me calls me Staton. Mm-hmm. You'll see them doing press-ups on the stage at the front with me sat on the back. That's happened a few times.
Does that mean I have to do press-ups now?
Press-ups for you is not a problem, is it? So it's not much of a forfeit for you, really.
Burpees. How are you, mate? All good?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
It's okay. We've got obviously mutual contact in Rob. He recommended me to you, and he basically said that you're a guy who's got an amazing backstory. Check this guy Luke out. Saw you on TED and really inspired by that talk. There's not a lot of ones that I'll watch the whole way through, but that was definitely one where I was kind of on the edge of my seat. Who's this boy he's talking about? Who's this guy in the story? And it was you in the end. So awesome little story that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to meet you too, Brad.
Yeah, no, honestly, absolute pleasure having you on. But a little scare this morning, haven't we? As first ever potential double booking, which you and lovely Louise have been very, very patient with. So.
And you weren't double booking, you were just organised. Louise was with me.
Too organised, that's what it was.
Too organised, anyway. That's a story for another time.
Open the door, expect to see Luke, and Louise is there, I'm like, oh no, got the wrong guy.
Do you mind me picking up, Luke, on, Ryan mentioned the TED Talk then. All right, it's one of my lifelong ambitions, if I were interested enough, to do a TED Talk. But I honestly don't think I'm interested enough. How did you find that experience?
Say that again. Interesting enough, or interested enough in doing it?
Oh, first, yeah. Definitely not.
What makes you think you're not interested enough to do it?
I saw you do it, Luke, and I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. Just an amazing storyteller you are.
So it's a great topic that you talk about there, and I think that it's the biggest challenge that people face in doing podcasts, doing anything, is that comparison. So you watch somebody else's video and you go, I could never do it like that, and nor should you, because it's not you. And I think embracing the uniqueness that you guys have got as individuals is what will excel you to the next level of where you want to get to. And I never ever watch anybody else and think, gosh, they're on a whole new level to me. I think they're great. Where am I? And how do I improve my levels? Because if you start comparing to the levels, you never do anything, would you? It'd be like, you're way fitter and stronger than me, so I might as well not train. And I think that like what you are definitely interested enough to do a TED Talk, 100%. Most people are. That's the beautiful thing about life, is that everybody's got the story. Everybody has the ability to do a TED Talk if they want to. I know it's one of the greatest stages in the world to do it on, but people underestimate the value that they bring to the world through their story. It just depends whether you want to put enough effort in to telling it in a way that resonates with the people listening, because it's not about you, it's about them. And everybody will resonate to someone in a different way. And I think the gift of a great storyteller, or these wonderful people that I admired and still do that stand on a stage and share stories, is the way that they can articulate something that everybody in that room feels like they're talking to them. That's the beautiful thing. That's the magic. So you are interested enough. And I think the quicker people remove that away, it unlocks things for them that they never thought possible. It's like on the TED Talk, I talk about, courage is the key. And courage is the key to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who and what could I really be? And when you don't think you're interested enough, straight away, culturally and subconsciously, we're playing ourselves down a little bit. And I was brought up in an environment, very working class environment. My dad, wonderful guy, supported me, travelled all over the country, dedicated his life to me and his children, but in particularly me, because, I needed to get to places and he was the person to get me there. Yeah, I was brought up of just play things down a little bit, don't come across full of yourself. I believe you should be full of yourself. It doesn't mean you're arrogant or you put people off you, but I think we should be full of ourselves, because if you're not full of yourself, who else is going to access you? Who else is going to sing for you? Nobody. Who's going to wave the flag if you're not full of yourself? So I think being full of yourself is a compliment to people in the right way. And the only people that look negatively towards people that are full of themselves are the ones that are looking at them in resentment and wishing they was just there a little bit. So I don't think I know anybody that I would say you are full of yourself or you are not interesting. Everybody's equal. Just some people find that key, which is the courage to open that door and stand on that red spot, that you will do, no doubt about it. I've watched lots of people do it that have never delivered a talk before. Wow. And I'm like, I really admire you, because it's not your thing. They are not speakers, but they've been brave enough to go, I've got something to say and I'm going to say it. And sometimes they lose their way. I've seen people actually freeze for 10 seconds, and I thought it was part of the performance, but it wasn't. They're just totally, because it's a pressured thing. You've got a small window to share as much impact as you can. And if it goes over the clock, sometimes they won't air it on YouTube, but there's no clock. So it's like a performance. Yeah, I'm not a performer. I like to freestyle the conversation, knowing where I want to go and what I want to say, but allowing myself to trust myself that the right words and story will come in the right moment, which is a difficult thing when someone wants you to be strict to a time of 15 minutes. And I finished, I think, on 14 minutes, 52 seconds because I sent somebody in the audience to shift. And I thought, they know me and they know I'm running over, and they just moved, and it just something triggered.
So it wasn't set up, that?
Wasn't set up, no. It's difficult because, you know, a friend of mine was in the audience. I said, if I'm running over time, turn your cat round. But if you don't notice when they turn the cat round, you don't know at what point you're running out of time.
So imagine him stood there like...
I'm like, it was that way a minute ago. Now it's on the side, and now he's just going like this. But it's an interesting dynamic. So you kicked us off well there, Brad, with that question. So when will you have done one will be the next question.
Oof, right, I feel like this. I didn't expect this today.
I think everyone thinks they need like a groundbreaking story as well, but sometimes it's, you know, little experiences in life where the biggest lessons are. And it's one of the things I like about your social media since I've been following you, is just you really highlight those little interactions. And there was a guy the other day that you bumped into on the road who was running.
Yeah.
And you never know what story someone's got behind them. And just a small comment, small interaction can just make you realise that everyone's doing something out here. Everyone's on a mission. Everyone's achieving things behind closed doors that you never thought they would have. It's just not everyone's a regular person like we think they are, and we think we're regular people, and we're not. We've got these stories. It's just, again, how you tell it, and, you know, understanding what the meaning was in that story. Yeah,
and just by saying hello to someone, I would have never have known who that guy was. It turns out we are friends on social media. I've actually been in the same 100-mile race as him. Wow. Running together, you know, and that guy's 69, I'm 46. So when he jogs past me on the high street, I say, good running. You know, because people, when you have done something, you know what goes into that, don't you? When you see someone that looks like you two do, in good shape, I know what that takes, because I've not been able to achieve it.
But you can do what we can't do. I can't run 100 miles, that's for sure.
To get that condition, it shows a disciplined human being that's full of consistency and ambition and got high standards for themselves. And we all know that's not easy to fulfill when you've got families, podcasts, you know, you're trying to do so much and take care of yourself at the same time. We all know that's not easy, else everybody would walk around looking like Brad Pitt out of Fight Club, wouldn't they? So I think when you can do that and you see someone else that's doing something like that guy running past me, I'm just like, good running. And he's like, oh, do you run? And then off the conversation, he stopped and he come back, and it turns out I've never felt so inadequate before in my life telling someone that I've ran 100 miles. I thought that was a pretty decent distance, and this guy was like, when you talk about comparison as a thief of joy, he's like, how far have you run? I said the furthest I've done is 100 miler, and he went, all right, and he went, yeah, I've done 1,600 miles. You know,
I can't fathom that in my mind.
1,600 miles. He actually messaged me on Facebook the other day. He went, Luke, when I met you in the street the other day, he said, your reaction to when I told you I ran 1,600 miles in 42 miles on average a day, he said, made me go back and check that I was right. Because obviously I was like, 1,600 miles, consecutive days until he finished. He's like, yeah. So he said, I actually didn't average 42 miles a day. I averaged 30 to 32 miles a day. Okay. But as if that was not as good. When 69 years of age, averaging 30 plus miles a day until you've run 1,600 miles, that's like over 45 days or something crazy, isn't it? That is incredible. Not many people can do it one day. So I'm like, I love that. He could do a TED Talk or he could be on a stage, but he maybe doesn't think of himself in that light of what I see him. But as soon as he tells me that, I'm fascinated by his story. And I love people's lives and stories. That's why I love what I do, because I get to hear people's lives, hear people's stories. And then when you start to ask them a few questions about what's got them there, I think they start to realise maybe my story is a little bit more unique. But I think we go through childhood, and depending on the upbringing that we've had, we don't believe that we are unique and special. We think everybody else is. We watch all these YouTube videos, all these fitness gurus, all these wonderful entrepreneurial influencers, and we see them as like a movie star. When we can be a movie star in our movie, I think that's what I believe.
So what was it that led you into this kind of approach with your mindset and talking to the people and preaching this message of everyone's kind of got a story? You know, what got you to kind of public speaking?
So, you know, I think all of us have arrived somewhere because of someone or some moment. And lots of people in my life, I've been very fortunate and grateful to come across lots of wonderful people that have planted those words in my mind of what I was capable of. And then when you start to achieve some of the things people thought you could do, you get a bit of confidence that, well, they was right, actually. But if they'd not have said that to me, I wonder what would have become of me. So from a very young age, I was constantly shared words too about my potential, to the point that it kind of makes you think it can happen. And it did. I went on to achieve a childhood dream of becoming a sportsman, which was everything for me. My biggest dream was to become a professional athlete. My purpose behind the dream was often because my mum and dad, I wanted to really help them with money. That was a real thing for me. And it just drove me really to keep moving in that right direction, that when you're in a small town from Retford, like where I'm from, not many people do much. There wasn't much happening. You know, most of your friends around that time are taking drugs and doing the wrong stuff. And I often wonder what kept me on that right path. And the only thing that kept me focused was, morally, I was brought up in an environment where, you know, that's not how you live. However, lots of my friends were too. I think the difference between me and lots of them was, and I think still is to this day for lots of young people, is that, you know, if you're working towards something and a behaviour and a habit's not conducive to where you're going, and you take that habit on or that behaviour, it's like accepting that where you're heading's not going to work. And I didn't want to have any reasons that I didn't get to where I wanted to get to because of the distraction that was available to me as a young kid growing up in a small town. So when people kept sharing with me, you're good, you can, you could, I was thinking, you know what? And then I'd see some evidence. Then a professional sports club would show interest in me, and then the next person would. And before you knew it, I was like this. I was being talked about in a way that was filling me full of energy, that I could become whatever I wanted. You know, fast forward from the sporting career that ended earlier than hoped and expected, and potential unfulfilled. You know, I was in a position there where I'm gone from being a, you know, professional sportsman, traveling the world, living the dream, you know, being able to give my mum and dad a check in 1996 for £25,000. Back then, it's a lot of money now. Yeah. But back then, when I gave them that money, that filled me full of self-pride. And it still does when I talk about it. That, for me, was the pinnacle of my younger years. They paid 10k tax on it. They cleared 15,000 something, whatever it was. And back then, that made a huge difference to my mum and dad's life. Now, there's no doubt about it. In my mid-20s, I flipping wanted that money back, right? Because, you know, it comes and then you're in the moment and you're loving life and everything's going well and you pass that money across, because that filled me full of joy. And then it ended. So then I was back in the same bedroom with my mum and dad with the same black and white TV in my mid-20s that I grew up in. So I left home at 14, came back at 24, and it was like I'd never been away. Bedroom was the same, black and white TV was the same, yet I wasn't the same, because my ambitions had disappeared now in terms of a sportsman. It was over. So I had to come to terms with that, and all of a sudden I'm getting picked up at the end of my street with a plastic carrier bag with my pack-up box in, getting in a van to go and carry bricks all day for minimum wage, £5 an hour it was then. And then I was also working in an animal food factory, putting pig feed in these big sacks. And my goal of the day in the animal food factory was to see how many bags I could put in a box. So 12-hour shift, that's all you're doing all day. You put your foot on a pedal, it opens up this paper bag, you press a button, it fills it full of pig feed, you staple it up. And as that bag's on the conveyor belt, your goal is, can you fill another one before that one drops off? So you fill the next one, and you're watching and you're looking, and you sprint to the end, you catch it and you put it in the box. That was 12 hours. So 6 years before, I'm playing for England, sat next to Michael Owen in the dressing room in the European Championship qualifiers. 3 years before that, I'm playing in the Champions League against Porto in front of nearly 65, 68,000, whatever the number was. And I'm playing against Deco, who went on to play for Chelsea, Barcelona, who's now the sporting director at Barcelona. I'm playing against him in this full stadium, and then I'm shifting bricks on a building site not long after. And the answer to your question, you probably noticed, I won't give you, it's easy to just say, oh, that happened, but this is the story that got me to be sat here today. And as I'm shifting bricks on the building site, you know, I'm obviously asking myself a few questions of basically what's happened. Because 1 minute your life can be great. It's like reading a book. You're in a chapter that you're really enjoying and everything's wonderful. And then you turn the page, and within a few pages the chapter starts to change. And you don't know how to get back to the other chapter because you're in a new chapter now. So you can't go back to that chapter, but you're stuck in a chapter that is not fulfilling, and you can sense that it's leading you in a direction that you are not going to live a life that you thought that you would. Not just monetary, but just what do you do when every chapter in the book up to then has been one thing, and now there's nothing. There's no personal identity, because you'll see this yourselves in the world that you guys are in, that people can get attached to what they do, not who they are. And I was attached to what I did, not who I was, because I didn't really know who I was, because I was always introduced to, this is Luke, the footballer. So from a very young age, I was introduced by my parents as, oh, this is Luke, the footballer. This is his brother, he's the good looking one. I always questioned that, but I never thought about it enough at the time. But if you see my brother, you'll realise he is definitely the good looking one out of the two of us.
We'll have to get him on now.
Yeah, you will. He'll love that too. He'll love it.
I'm thinking how our parents describe us now.
I'm
panicking.
Yeah. Well, you're both good looking lads, so you've got nothing to worry about. But my brother was just dark, and and I wasn't. And so we were always introduced at Luke the footballer. So that footballer becomes you. And then the footballer's gone. It's like, this is Luke. He carries bricks on a building site. Or this is Luke. He puts pig feed in bags. That's not as compelling as the story before. So then you're like, okay, walking into a room. I remember walking into rooms and just not having that edge to me anymore, that confidence, that self-belief, because I was lost, really. I couldn't play. I didn't want to always talk about what I'd done. I wanted to talk about what I'm doing and what I'm going to do, but there was nothing. I was carrying bricks. So there's nothing wrong with those jobs. It was just a bit of a transformational change for me, which was not intentional, but it was a bit of self-sabotage going in there, not enjoying life, didn't want to answer my phone, just hiding away, because all my friends that I'd loved and lived with, lots of them, I'm watching them on TV. Full of admiration for what they're doing. Michael Owen scoring in the World Cup against Argentina at some point, and I remember my life just wasn't where I wanted it to be. And thankfully, I never had that resentment and bitterness, because I know a lot did, and it's like snake bite doesn't kill you, it's the poison. So I was fortunate that I admired them for what they accomplished, because I knew how hard it was. So I've always had that philosophy, probably brought up very, very close to me from my nan, a wonderful lady that was just so kind, loving, caring. Never ever spoke a negative word about. I could never hear her, and never heard her when she was alive say a negative word about anybody ever. So if I was ever in her company, never once did she critique somebody in a way that had a bit of poison or a bit of animosity. And without knowing it, she was clearly teaching me lots of valuable lessons. And I wanted to make sure that I was that person. I was never going to talk about people in a way that I didn't want them to hear. I just wanted to be more like that. And I set my stall out, really. I'm shifting bricks, thinking, what am I going to do? Wherever I went, especially in my local town, the question was, what happened to you? And you have to keep reliving it, because people... I found it fascinating, really. More people wanted to ask me what happened to me, as in what went wrong, rather than what went right. Because a lot did go right. I'm a young kid from a small town, black masking tape wrapped around his boot at the age of 10. And then all of a sudden at 17, I'm signing the most elite professional contract the country had ever seen at that time with the Premier League champions. And I'm playing for England at 15, 16, 17 and 18, travelling the world. So a lot went right, but no one ever said, what was it like to do that? It was all about what went wrong. And I think human nature is we live in that a little bit too much, because I honestly think some people, well, I don't think, I know that some people took some joy, maybe, in it not going how it should have done. Often people said, I knew he wouldn't make it. I knew he wouldn't go that far. I mean, I don't know how they knew that. There's no crystal ball, but it was like they wanted to prove that this kid from Retford can't achieve that because they didn't think he could. But I achieved a lot of great things as a youngster, which I'm very proud of. Although I didn't get to the levels, and there's many reasons for that, I still did things that I'm grateful for. And what brought me to this seat is just knowing that if I can do that, I can do anything. If I can achieve something that not many people do, that set out to do, even though it's only for a short time, by the time I'm in my early 20s, the football dream's over. If I can do that, what else can I do? And as I'm shifting bricks, I just kept thinking about people like my nan, standing in the goalposts when you're taking penalties at her as a little kid, and she's fetching the ball every time you score, and she's bringing it back and you're doing it again. I'm like, has these people done all this for me to just accept a life that's not cool? And it's like, no way has these people done this for me to accept a life that I'm not happy with. I owe it to them to kind of come again, really, and to shine again in a different arena. And I had no idea what that was, but I remembered meeting a little kid in an orphanage when I was playing in the Champions League. We went to a country called Azerbaijan. So I don't want to oversell the story. I was playing for a football team that nobody's ever heard of, and we're about to play in the Champions League. And if we win, we know we're going to play Porto in the next round. And I was earning like £275 a week at the time, and we're going into the Champions League, which is just on a whole different scale. So we go to this country called Azerbaijan. And our manager, a guy called Peter Nicholas, he was an ex-Arsenal star. He was one of the most capped Welsh international players. He was a big name that the team had managed to get as their manager. And as we go to this country, he said, we're going to go on a bit of an excursion tomorrow. We're going to go and visit an orphanage. And now typical young sports people that don't appreciate poverty and challenge, we was there to play football, and we're focused on performance and eating well and drinking well. And now the manager wants to take us on a 3-hour bus trip, no aircon on a minibus, no water on a minibus, to go and visit somewhere that we have no emotional connection to. Because when you're that young, you don't really appreciate struggle and trials and tribulations, because we live in a world where things are, you just get your phone out or you go to the fridge. So I'd not seen what I was about to see, and we get on this minibus, and a few of us was questioning the decision 2 days before Champions League opportunity. And as we arrive at this orphanage, we get off and we walk in, and we're greeted at the door so tremendously well. It was like we was royalty, and to them we probably were, because it was a friendly face. And we didn't realise at the time, but these children were literally dropped off and never collected again. They was dropped off as youngsters and often had terminal illnesses, so parents couldn't afford to care for them, support them, so just dropped them and disappeared. And everybody that worked there was a volunteer. So we walk into this orphanage, and we go in, and we've got these memorabilia, we've got mini footballs, and we're dishing out these gifts for the kids, and it was like Christmas. It was like, the energy was unbelievable. The kids were so receptive and grateful for our company, and us for theirs too. And as we're handing out all this memorabilia, we start to move down the corridor, and the further down the corridor we went, the more traumatic the illnesses were, the more terminal, and kids was more bedridden. And lots of my teammates started to, move away and come away from it, because it was very difficult to see. And I don't know what compelled me to stick with it. And we go down these corridors, we walk into this one room, and we had 2 team doctors with us, and they did a observation on a child. And as they walked past me, I remember hearing the female doctor say to the male doctor, they're not going to make it. They're just saying they're not going to make it. because they could tell when they're doing these examinations, these kids hadn't even had examinations. They were just there. And these volunteers are just looking after them the best that they can. How I realised then where I was and the severity of this is that these kids aren't leaving this place. You know, these kids are not getting out of here. And we're here and we're complaining to a degree that we're going somewhere to do something for somebody else. You know, it wasn't our fault that we thought like that. We didn't really know where we was going or what we was doing. But then you start to realise that we are leaving this place. We are going to go play in the Champions League football match. We are going to get on a plane and fly home to see our families. These kids, this is their life. So we go down the corridor and I met this little lad. He's in a bed. And I had these typical kind of posery designer sunglasses that I couldn't afford on my t-shirt. This little kid, you know, he looks at me and he's laid in the bed. He can't move from the bed. He was probably about 6-7 years of age, and he points to my sunglasses. And as he points to my sunglasses, you know, I passed the glasses to him and he put them on and he was buzzing. You know, couldn't speak the same verbal language, but something wonderful about the human connection is that you can feel a moment, can't you? You can just feel, you don't even need to say a word. And I smiled, he smiled, and my friend, my teammate who was next to me, he was like, I think you've got away with that, because often kids just want to break your glasses, don't they? And again, the boy didn't understand the English language, but he takes off the glasses, and as he goes to pass me back, he pretends to break them. And as he pretends to break them, my teammate starts laughing, I start laughing, and the kid starts laughing, you know, fist pump, high five. And I sat next to him and I had a photograph with him while he was wearing my designer sunglasses. And we walk out of there, and as I'm talking to you, it's crazy how I can see him still in that bed. I can see his massive, beautiful smile with the glasses on. I can remember having a photograph, and I can remember walking out and I was wearing some sliders, and one of my sliders ripped as I was leaving the building. So I'm walking now, I've got one slider on, the other slider's broke, and it's kind of, you can imagine it's, you know, it wasn't like tarmac, it was a rubble, gravelly driveway. So I'm walking back to the minibus, and all of a sudden, like within 2 or 3 minutes, I get a tap on the shoulder, and it was one of the volunteers had gone inside and they'd been donated a pair of sliders. One was a size 11, one was a size 9, bearing in mind I'm a size 6, and she gave me them in a plastic carrier bag, and she said, you need to put them on. And I said, I can't take them, you know, keep them, it's fine. She said, no, you must take them, you can't be walking like that. And she made me take them out of this plastic bag that had been donated, put them on my feet so I could walk to the minibus. She made me keep them. And those sliders meant a lot to me, because even though they had nothing, they was willing to give everything for somebody that only had to walk 50 metres to get on a bus, and they could have kept them for themselves. So you can imagine, as I'm on this building site and I'm reflecting on these moments with these people, I realise I've got nothing to moan about. Yes, my dream's not gone to where I wanted it to, but you can create another one. They couldn't create another one. That was them. For decades later, I have done all that I can to try and find that orphanage, to try and connect with them. And everybody I've asked, nobody knows whereabouts it was, how we got there. But whenever I've shared a story about that visit on social media, the manager, who's still alive now, Peter Nicholas, who I'm friends with, he always comments. Because I've often thought, was it just me that was impacted that greatly from that moment? And it clearly wasn't, because as soon as I put something out there, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know, what a moment for a number of ways. You know, sometimes the most toughest stuff that you go through in life, as devastating as it is, there's also something that comes from that. And I think if it's not for that little kid and me thinking, what a moment, that kid's in all that adversity, he has no idea where his life may or may not go, but he's still got a chance for a smile and a fist pump and a laugh, and to treat me in that way, I've got no excuse. So that was where, as I'm moving the bricks, I thought, whatever I do now, I've got to feel that. I want to feel more of that. The sport was great, loved it, loved traveling the world, loved playing in these stadiums, loved representing my country. Nothing feels as good as that moment with that kid. So I thought, I'm going to go after that. And I didn't know how. And that's probably 22 years later after that decision that I'm sat here talking to you about that story. There's your answer. Good luck clipping that one up.
Wow.
It's a full episode answer.
That's an amazing story, and it reminds me that doesn't matter how rich, poor, able, disabled you are, we've all had a moment where you realise how lucky you are in life to be where you are with family, friends, people you can rely on. And there's always someone worse off, isn't there? There's always someone worse off, and there's always more you can do to either help or be kind or be compassionate. And we just get so caught up in this rat race, and you probably see this more than most people. People are just caught in this cycle of just me. And I think, is it us? Is it our upbringing? Is it society? What's got us to this point where we're quite self-absorbed nowadays? Maybe it's always been like that. I don't know. But stories like that are fantastic, and they're my favourite kind of stories because, and not just that one, but the one you told before about your kind of, ups and downs in your own career and personal life, because everyone loves a rags to riches story, right? But I think life is sometimes designed to make you fail as well. I think it is. And I think that I love hearing those stories about people who've been at those low lows and somehow weave their way back into a positive mindset and are doing good. And it's actually Simon Cowell who told one of my favourite stories about how he went from being this big, super famous, very wealthy person to then losing everything, ended up on his mum and dad's sofa. And he somehow just never lost that faith, never lost that kind of belief that I can be something again one day. This is just temporary. But it's the hardest moment to get yourself out of. And you'll know that firsthand, right? When you're back in your mum's house in the same bedroom, everything's the same, and you feel like, wow, it's like Groundhog Day again. So much has changed. Well, so little's changed in that room, like you said, but you've changed the person so much. And
my old man used to still tell me to turn the bedroom light off. He's like, Luke, you've left your bedroom light on. I'm like, can you turn it off, Dad? No. He'd make me go upstairs and turn it off. And it was like, he'd not realised 14 to 24, there was a lot, come on, Dad, can we be friends now rather than father, son, telling me what to do. And every Friday when I was working on that building site, the foreman used to bring a brown envelope round and pay me cash. So on a good week, I'd make 120 quid because I did 4 days. But if it rained, obviously you didn't go to work, you didn't get paid. Now, no matter how much was in that brown envelope, that guy used to give my dad the brown envelope, and my dad used to take 40 quid out for his rent. So if I only earned 80 quid, my dad took 40. If I only earned, 60 quid, he took 40. And I remember thinking, Dad, come on. And I said, Dad, right, I've got 40 quid now left. You've took 40 because I've only earned 80. I've got 40 left. What am I going to do with that? He's like, son, listen, if I let you live here for free, you'll be here forever. You've got to get sorted. And you're eating here, you're staying here, you need to pay. And at first I was like, because I loved my dad so much, I appreciated his words and I understood I need to pay. Don't matter what I've done for them in the past. That moment, he was like, you need to sort yourself out. And I was like, you're right, I do. And it weren't long until I finally got out and got my own house because, if it had made it easy, I might have been there longer. But my dad never made my life easy. He brought us up tough, hence why me and my brother, sister all work for ourselves. Them two are most incredible ultra runners, that their human warrior spirit, I'm not comparing me to them, but in that arena is far greater than I could ever wish to be. And they've not had the upbringing that I've had in a sense of being in these sporting arenas and environments where you get all the best healthcare. They've found their own way. And that's what inspired me to do ultra running was watching them. But I think everybody's story has lessons for all of us if we're willing to ask the right questions and listen. And when else other than a podcast you get to talk without phones or emails or distractions. That's why podcasts are wonderful, because you can have in-depth conversation without distraction. And I'm desperate, I'm sat here and I'm thinking of questions to ask you two, but I also appreciate, I don't want to sabotage your podcast, but I feel like I want to ask you guys stuff because I feel like I'm talking about myself a lot, which you are asking the question, but I want to know more about what got you here, because we've all had them stories and that's what inspires me. Hence, lots of the talks that I do, you'll see me stood to the side. Somebody else will be holding the microphone because it isn't my job to stand there and talk. It's my job to inspire other people to want to come and stand there and talk and get that belief. Now, if I've got to do that to facilitate that, then that's what I do. But I see myself literally just merely as I'm a facilitator for other people to become their own creator. And that's why I love standing there, because then all of a sudden someone else comes up, and they're like, I can't believe I did that. And then when I see you on that red spot doing the TED Talk, it'll be like, you set the intention, and once the intention's set, you work towards it. But my story, like many stories, I'm still waiting for the riches, by the way. You said the rags to riches. I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for that bit. But the riches, I think, is in more than just monetary. It's like good relationships with people, good friendships, waking up with energy to do what you want to do because people are benefiting from what you do, and contributing to the world in a way that, if it was over today, someone might just say, do you know what, that guy, that girl, they gave it a real go and they contributed to their time here. Probably why I try and fit in too many things, because I'm aware that time's running out, hence why I wear a clock around my neck, time's ticking. And if we don't maximise every tick, I'd regret it when my time's up that I didn't do more. So I feel like I'm sometimes rushing, because I know my time's running out, because it is for all of us, but I'm very aware of it. My brother nearly died 6 years ago of a massive stroke. He was seconds away from death. So I'm aware of how close that is, and I'm not going to get to the end and go, I wish I'd been a bit braver. Why didn't I do that quicker? Why didn't I book the arena event and then sell the tickets? The only reason is because of the fear of no one coming. That's not a good enough reason. 100 years, no one will know no one came. No one will know that everyone came. But one person might have remembered something that you said that passed it on because it impacted them. Hence why I brought the book out. It's just leaving things behind that you can be remembered for. Like, I'm talking about my nan. I often talk about my head teacher. Mr. Spencer, who took me on that first trip to Wembley Stadium as a 10-year-old kid, he said, that could be you one day, and it was. So, that they're the words that inspire me, and I defy anybody to tell me that words can't change how you think and feel about yourself. When people say to me, what's the point travelling 5 hours to do a 20-minute talk? Because sometimes I get asked, would you come here, 5 hours, and we just want a 20 they say we just want a talk. Sometimes people think just a talk. It's like, why do you have to say just? It's not just a talk. It's an opportunity to say something that might change something for someone forever. So I enter every talk like that. I don't just think this is just a talk. Whether it's 10 minutes at a local sports team or it's Wembley Stadium in September where we had 450 people, every talk is an opportunity to say something that could help someone create something for themselves. And when you put that effort into it, you always bring your best, whether that's in a coffee shop with the waiter or waitress or a restaurant. If you bring that energy, you have more great interactions. When you have great interactions, things happen. Things happen, like the ultra runner on the water, running the other day next to the water. And, I have multiple of these interactions. Now, they might leave them and forget the interaction, but I remember them, which means that when I turn up today, I'm in a better energy state to be better. So when your audience watch this, they might go, I took that one thing. But if I don't turn up today and perform because I'm not in a good energy state, it's not fair on you, it's not fair on my nan, it's not fair on Mr. Spence, not fair on my children that I couldn't take to school. And you have to put yourself in that emotional state that you're all in. And it really does remove the handcuffs of playing safe and playing steady. And I am a really optimistic person, and sometimes I think, am I delusional? Am I delusional? But everything that I've set out to work towards has started to happen. And so when I think, am I delusional? Can that really happen? I look back at the evidence of the things that I said that have happened. I got ungraded at school in English, and I brought a book out, which you'd probably say that you wouldn't do, but I got the right people to help me create the book. So it's just being clever with the skills that you've got, the gift that we all have, and then finding a way to get it out there to the world and not really caring if it doesn't work. At least you give it a go. Look at your podcast. It's in a lounge with phones set up. No one would ever know. It's such a professional setup that you've done, but you could have easily thought, we haven't got a studio, we haven't got the fancy camera, we haven't got the resources, we haven't got the branding, we're never going to compete with Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO, but you're not trying to compete with them. You're doing your thing in your way. So you two have clearly got a resourceful way of thinking, or you wouldn't be sat here today working your PT clients in the morning, doing this. And I admire that hustle, hence why I wanted to come on with you too, because I know what it feels like. I feel like I'm constantly hustling in a positive way, but I love it. I love the energy it brings. I love meeting new people. And that philosophy is something that I've realised that people want to learn more of. And if I weren't brave enough to stand on the red spot, because I often thought, flipping out, some of these guys on this red spot are like Bill Gates and all these people, and who would want to listen to me? I thought, well, they're asking me, so why not? And you do it, and then all of a sudden you're getting CEOs from some of the biggest companies in the world watching it 4 times. There's a friend of mine, I call him a friend. If he doesn't want me to call him a friend, I'm sorry, Mr. Will Crumby, but you're my friend, even if I'm not yours. But he's the CEO of Fat Face, the retail giant, and he's watched that 3 or 4 times. Before he delivers speeches, he's often sent me a message, I've just watched your video again. And I'm like, gosh, someone like that, that runs a £250 million company, is watching my video, talking about my story. Whatever he's watching it for, I don't know. And it's like, that fills me with pride that you can start somewhere and then be in the company of people that you admire, and they actually want to be in your company. They're inviting you to be in the company, and they're wanting to watch your stuff and speak to you. I get my pride and joy from that. But the riches financially would be great too, of course.
But it's funny, isn't it? I think we always associate, coming right back to what you said earlier about like when you walk into a room and you went from being Luke the footballer to Luke the was it Bricky you said?
Yeah.
It's amazing how we associate people with jobs, and we judge them based on that. Like so many other layers. People are like onions, right? You peel them back and there's so many fascinating things about people, but we just associate them with jobs, monetary value. And the CEO of Fat Face, he's showing his human side by saying, doesn't matter where I am in life, what I'm achieving, I still need motivation for this speech. I still need a bit of inspiration. I'm still going to Luke and looking at his videos for that. I think it's making him human. It's really kind of reinforcing that point of, you know, it doesn't really matter where you are in the pecking order in inverted commas. Like, we all are just humans, and no one knows it all. No one's got all the motivation. No one's as confident as you think they are. I listened to a fantastic podcast this week with Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
And everyone's associating him with this amazing performer, but he goes, I get really nervous even still. Like, I've got enough evidence to back up the fact that I'm a good performer. I can see that. But I still get really nervous. I still go on that stage, and as soon as I step on there, no one would ever know. But I know. Yeah. I know. And I need to get myself into a mental state where I go out there and I do what I need to do. And it's a really, really nice kind of like roundabout way of saying, you know, this is a human aspect to life as well.
Well, you two think about this. If you went to a networking event, for example, or something that you didn't know people, and they said, who are you and what do you do? What do you say? What would be your answer?
I would say I'm a coach. I coach people and I get them from A to B, wherever that might be, whether it's losing weight, building muscle, strength. I make them perform and feel optimal.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I always go down the route of lifestyle stuff first. I always have done. That's no, association side of things, but I always like to state that, listen, I'm a working dad. I'm someone who works around my family life.
Yeah.
And I always almost state that if I can connect with people via similarities, I love that. I love talking to other parents, talking to other people who are into sports, into coaching. And like you said about the networking side, it's a difficult question because it does force you to be very introspective, doesn't it? And well, how would I describe myself in a few words? It feels like an impossible task, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, often we go into telling everyone what we do, don't we? Because that's what everyone does.
Yeah.
Hi, this is what I do, and it's over then. Because if you're not interested in what you do, it's over. But I wonder why, and I don't know what the answer is to this, but I wonder why we don't just say who we are. If someone says, who are you? You say, I'm Luke, or I'm Brad, I'm Ryan. I'm a kind person that loves to encourage people to follow their dream. I just love living life. I take adventures and opportunities, and they'll be like, still don't know what you do.
Yeah.
But then they'll be like, well, what's your job? Then you can, but I think often we just read out titles, don't we, of managing director, or I'm a fitness coach, or I'm a nutritionist. Well, you're not a nutritionist. You're a person that does nutrition. Somebody, said to me, "Oh, you're the motivational speaker guy, aren't you?" I said, "I'm the guy that does motivational speaking, if that's what you want to call that." So I'm very conscious of not being attached to that, because that might change one day. I went from the sporting world into the fitness industry for years, then left the fitness industry and did what I did now. But again, I got labelled with the fitness guy. "Oh, you're the fitness guy," which is normal to be labelled, but you've got to be very careful, I think, that it doesn't become your DNA of who you are, because the character of you will follow you whatever profession. You guys in 5-10 years might be doing something totally different. You might be full-time podcasters traveling the world. So you're not podcasters, you're two guys that love life, that are sharing stories all over the world through a microphone. And I think my message to lots of young people I work with is, don't let your identity be what you do. Your identity is who you are, not what you do. Because who you are will always win. What you do will be taken away one day. It will. Age, athleticism. Once that's gone and you're not that, problems start to occur. And you see this in the world of suicide. You see it in the world of professional athletes and sport. That it's sad, but they're attached to their identity of what they did, not who they are. And it's the dangerous place to be. And that's not being proud of what you've done and what you're doing. Just don't get carried away with that, because next day it can be over, but you're still here. You've still got that gift of life to pass something on to somebody else.
It's so interesting you should say that. We've had a client of mine, Gav Walker, who's been through a lot. He broke his back as a firefighter. He's now wheelchair bound, but he's gone on to play wheelchair rugby for GB. And in 2021, he got a Paralympic gold medal. And literally the week after, he was doing pots in his kitchen. Yeah. And he's like, this is such a weird contrast. And apparently that's really, really common in gold medalists, where they've got this huge high and then they're brought back down to earth. And I remember talking to Gav about that, how is that? And he's got this incredible reference point, which is, well, I've been through worse. Who am I to sit and complain that, I'm here washing pots with my gold medal around my neck?
Yeah.
And it's just that constant, I suppose, prompt that you tell yourself. And as you were speaking about kindness then, you really sparked a childhood memory of mine, where my mum used to say, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Yeah.
And it's not until speaking to you now, Luke, that's probably made me reflect on that and really realise, being told that at a young age and being encouraged to do that, it's probably shaped a lot of who I am. Being nice is not necessarily being a pushover, it's being kind and moving forward. But if someone's listening to this, Luke, who's maybe not sure how to, I suppose, bring a small kind act, you strike me as someone who just does random acts of kindness. Am I right in that assumption?
Well, I think I'd like to say yes. And sometimes it's not intentional, so I couldn't sit here and reel them off, because it becomes you. And I think it's like that, being unconsciously competent, isn't it? Going from, you're unconsciously incompetent, but then you want to become unconsciously competent. So the random acts of kindness, you don't think, okay, that person's just dropped something, I'm going to go, you just instinct, you just do it. And I think when it becomes you, and it can become you, without the intention of wanting something back. Too many people give to get rather than give to give. And I think the most powerful thing in the world, I believe, is giving to give with no expectation of anything in return, because then you're never let down. You're never disgruntled. You're never saying, I'm not sending them a Christmas card anymore. Why? Well, they don't send me one back. So you're just writing that to get that back. It's not the way it works. And when you hear that and you challenge that with someone, they go, do you know what? You're right. Why am I going to stop doing it just because they don't do it? I'm not ringing him or her anymore. Why? They never ring me back. You don't know why, though. They might have tough stuff. Don't stop doing what you do because of how others are. And I think that it becomes a philosophy. And when I talk about a life philosophy, I would love to people see me as a kind person. Some people mistake kindness for weakness, which is a big mistake. I think kindness, some of the kindest people I know in the world that I've met are the most ferocious competitors, and literally will do all that they can to succeed and win, but not override you know, the quality of life of somebody else to get there, but they're winners, yet they're super kind. So it's a wonderful philosophy to have, because you feel good doing it. If you're nice to people and they compliment you for being nice, you feel good. And I don't think you two will have ever met anybody that's come to you for coaching that doesn't want to feel good. Yes, they want to look good, because then they'll feel good. Everything's about how we want to feel. So if you can do little things in your day to enhance how you feel, why wouldn't you do them? And the reason we don't do them is because we're not consciously aware of the opportunity to do them, because we're stuck in urgent, tough stuff that we don't see it. And there was a guy that, Louise passed me my phone, there's a guy that sent me a message the other day from one of these talks that I did, and it's reminded me of what your mum said. So this guy's a police officer. And it's ironic, really. So when I'm telling you my story about, obviously, you know, playing football for England when I was 15, that Wembley Stadium thing and all of that's been coming back. So this month I've spoke at Wembley Stadium and then St George's Park, nothing to do with football, but I'm in the arenas of where football was. And there was a guy that sent me a message in one of my talks recently, and this is what really made me think what I'm doing is having some kind of impact on people, because this guy is very high up in the police service, and he's sat at the end of a 3-day conference, and I've only got 90 minutes with them, and I shared a lot of what we're talking about now. My way isn't, you know, PowerPoint behind me. You could just email that information. It's to create an emotion in someone, that they connect it to something, that they leave and do something. That's the importance. And this guy sent me this message, hey Luke, I watched your presentation at the police conference today, and I just had to reach out. It was hands down very complimentary, hands down the most captivating and motivational speech of the week. Thank you. My story mirrors yours in many ways, minus the football. So it hit home hard, but positively. Listening to you also reminded me I hadn't replied to my very own Mr. Spencer. My 83-year-old primary school maths teacher texted me on Sunday. He was the one who saw something in me when others didn't, and when I struggled academically and emotionally with Sen, I messaged him straight after your talk to say I loved him and I'm grateful for everything he's done and did for me. He replied within a minute, I believe you are worth it, and I love you and the man you've become. Thanks again, Luke. Your words sparked something powerful, and I can't wait to read your book, which I'll purchase for my little girl ASAP. And to hear you speak again, I will keep you on the top of my list for anything in mind. With thanks and respect, David. Now, what I love about that is that guy is dealing with some really big stuff. Murders, all of this stuff, and his life is protecting us. And he's left that, and he's messaged his 83-year-old primary school teacher to say thank you. Because sometimes we just forget that is what it is about, I think. I like to think that is it. Your mum saying that to you will have had an impact on your life that you might not be aware, but I can tell by meeting of what a kind guy you are. You can just tell as soon as you meet you two, your aura oozes out of what lovely people you are. You can just tell. And if you said to me, how can you tell? It's difficult to articulate, isn't it? You're just warm, friendly people. So your mum saying that to you and teaching you that has had an impact that you won't know until your kids start to become really kind. You're like, okay, this is how it works. That person invests in you, you invest in them. Now, lots of young people, unfortunately, don't have people that share them words with. So it's our job as adults to make sure that we are doing more to help people access this kind of content that will help and change and potentially save their life. So I think the random acts of kindness, it's a great strategy to feel good. And it's not saying you're doing it just for yourself, but people have often said to me, Luke, you know, when I do kind things for people, I feel really selfish. I'm like, why? They're like, because I feel great doing it. I'm like, that's okay. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to feel good, doing good. But then they're like, yeah, I know, but should I be doing it to feel good? I'm like, why not? You're still doing the kind act. You're not asking for anything. You're doing it. You feel good. They feel good. Everybody wins. And they're like, right. It's like they want permission. Because they feel so, but it's not a coincidence, is it? The richest people in the world spend their whole life giving their money away because of how they feel by doing that.
I've never heard anyone articulate it like that. I had a friend who said just that. He says, if you do nice things for people and because it makes you feel good, it's the most selfless, selfish thing you can do. And to hear you reverberate his words is quite refreshing, actually. Because not enough people talk about that, but what's the alternative? Be a cynic, be, live for yourself, and there's more to it, Luke, isn't there?
Well, the greatest movie is Scrooge for that, isn't it? And he has the realisation, don't want that anymore. No. And all of a sudden spends the rest of his life giving it away. And you guys will read and research these people that most of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world give it all away. I mean, how crazy, right? That when they're born, they're like, I want to be rich and wealthy. And then when they get there, they just constantly find ways to give it away. Because the joy they get from what they've achieved and created is where the love comes. So they've got all the cars, they've got everything they could ever wish for, but their purpose and their love is watching you do something great with what they've done. And I think my good friend David Baldwin is one of the most successful human beings I've ever met in my life, not just financially, as a person. That guy is like the pinnacle of success for me, because his business success has been formidable. Yet as a human being, everybody loves him. Everybody talks highly of him. His children, just the guy has just got it right. He is not interested in the money. That's a byproduct of being successful. But what he's done with the money, of what he's done to help people, is what makes him who he is. He moved a whole family from Ukraine onto his premises and housed them, got them jobs, got the kids into schools. Nobody will know about this. He doesn't talk about this stuff. He doesn't put it on LinkedIn because he wants some PR from it. Nobody knows. I know, because when I've turned up at his house, I'm like, oh, okay. So he tells me about it, and it's like, wow, this guy is just doing, but that's just one of many things. And then the more of these people that you meet that have done really well in some aspects of life, not just financially, but in a career, they'll use that to help others in some way. And I think an element is that if you're not helping other people, like, you might as well just live on your own. And what's the point? Like, helping other people, I think it is what it is all about.
Do you ever feel, what are your emotions behind people who maybe say, I hate work. I don't love how I enjoy spending my days. Like me and Ryan, at risk of speaking on behalf of Ryan, but we love what we do. I really do. I can't think of any other thing that I'd rather do that would bring me more joy. Yeah. So when you speak to people who maybe do run into this problem of, I hate my job, I hate this, what sort of emotions does that spark for you?
So it's really easy, isn't it, on the peripheral to say, get a different job. Yeah. But the person might not feel they've got the skills to, the courage to, got financial restraints because you've got a family. So it's very easy for people to say, just get a different job then, because that is what you're probably thinking. But just everybody's situation, circumstance is different. My philosophy with that is that, if you're unhappy, really unhappy, whatever it is, a marriage, a friendship, an area that you live, and you get into a point that it's affecting your life, you're going to have to look at how to change it. And that's not just your job, it's the people you spend time with, it's the food that you eat, it's the hobbies that you do or don't do, it's all of it. And a job is just an element of that. It's because it funds your life that people put so much emphasis on it. So when people have said that to me, I'll say, what do you like about it? And there's always something. It might be, I enjoy seeing Brad. So put more energy into seeing Brad, and then it will increase your day, it'll improve your day. Now, if your day and your week and your month and your years are unsustainable, you're going to have to look at getting out, really simply. But don't keep talking about you hate something and don't do anything about it, because if you're not going to do anything about it, accept it and do the best you can to perform in it, because it might be facilitating a life for you outside of work that you love. But if you're not enjoying 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, it's going to lead to negative places. And I don't think you have to jeopardize your happiness to earn money. I don't think in the world we live in now, you have to do that. I think there's more opportunities now. You can do anything now, anywhere in the world, and people will generate money. So if someone, and I meet these people in corporations that are saying how much they dislike their job, and when you say, is there a reason that you stay? They'll say, well, I get paid. That's a great thing. Because I don't always get paid if things aren't going well. You definitely do. Yeah, I suppose. Do you get, if you're not well? Yeah, I get paid. So there's lots of perks. So the question is, are you willing to change that for something new? But you don't have to start something new tomorrow. You could start something new alongside what you do. And often they'll say, well, I ain't got time. I'm like, yeah, but you only work till 5. And if you have got kids, you might have 2 hours a night to build something new for yourself that could change what you do now. But if you haven't got the courage to look into that, I think you should stop moaning about your job being crap, because as soon as you say it, you feel crap. People complain but don't do anything about it. I think that at some point people stop listening to you anyway.
Definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result, right? And I think women go through this a lot after they've given birth.
Yeah.
So they go through their maternity and they take time away from work, and they start questioning all the things that they want to go back for, and they start highlighting all those things that I really don't want to do. I've almost got a different purpose now. My missus kind of went for the same thing, and you do start questioning whether it's something you want to go back to, because this is something I have to do now for potentially the rest of my life if I'm not careful. So, and just being a parent in general, I've had that same thing where you think you're the fitness person, you think you're the gym person, this other thing comes along and shows this different side to life. Like, oh my God, I actually care about something else more than me now. And becoming a dad, we spoke about this heavily on the podcast, it is a very transformative thing in itself. And it makes you question your values. It makes you question where you're going in life. It makes you question like love as well. Like we've mentioned that a lot on the podcast, like the things that you love and you thought you loved, how you don't really love those things like you love your own child. You become a different person. You do. It's transformative, isn't it?
It really makes me think, how do our kids see us?
Yeah.
And I'll try and ask Teddy them things, my little boy. I'm like, what do you think of daddy? And he always says like, silly, just number one, loving, and then fun. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll take them 3 words all day long, because if that's how he sees me, and I can't help but feel parents who maybe aren't that aware, should we say, that's a nice place to start, just being super aware, like you said about, well, what can you do about it? How can you make the change? Speaking of change, is that something you really wanted to do with the book? Because I'm really curious to dive into that and like how it came into being and what sort of message you want to spread with that, Luke.
So the message would be very simple, that it's a book of hope, it's a book of inspiration, and the metaphor that I use in the story is one that I truly believe in for myself and for all of us, that we all have that inner butterfly that wants to fly and flourish and go to magnificent places. Yet life happens, and the person that talks about work in a negative way, their butterfly becomes dark and dull and stops flying. So it doesn't go to places that they wanted to go. So then they become despondent in the world, and I think depression kicks in, anxiety kicks in, problems kick in, get lost, and then the butterflies forgot what it was like when it was bright and beautiful and could fly and flourish. So I meet so many demoralized people at all ages, and all it is, I believe, is that inner butterfly that they've got is given up on the dreams that they may once had, or have stopped even asking what could be, what could I do. They've got to a stage in life where this is me, and that's it. And the thought of that, I think, straight away takes that inner butterfly for them to be dark and dull, because that butterfly doesn't need to fly anymore if that's it. And as soon as your butterfly doesn't want to fly, it's like accepting you're going to die. Because if nothing happens between now and death, if I'm not working towards anything, or I haven't got any dreams, or I don't want to see things, like, what is the point? And I think that's where the negative thoughts come from people, that they're living, but not really. They're already dead. And I think that inner butterfly that we all have, if we can find ways to keep it bright and beautiful, which is hobbies, interests, reading, learning, conversing, seeing things, doing things, challenging yourself, expanding your knowledge, meeting, inspiring people, having moments with people that remind you of what the point of a life. You can keep that butterfly bright, you'll feel young for a long time. There's a great story recently that I've played to a few people, and it's a lady that's talking about, anybody can grow old. Anybody can do that. Like, we're all doing it. Every moment we're growing old. But can you find a way to stay young? And I honestly feel like I did when I was that young sportsman. My mindset, my body doesn't physically respond as well, of course, but I feel that I've got energy. I can leave the house at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 11 at night. I'm still going because I'm thinking of where things are going, and just that I think is a wonderful gift. So the book for me was created to share a story of a head teacher that inspired a little boy to fulfill something that potentially wouldn't have ever have happened just through a kind word or two. And then metaphorically within the book, we talk about Credo. Do you know what Credo means?
No, never heard that before.
Purposefully not dove into it because I'm hoping to hear it from the great man.
So
Credo.
Credo means I believe in Latin. So to believe in yourself is everything. Sometimes it's got to come from someone else externally until you do. So for me, it was Mr. Spencer, my mum, my dad, my nan, my grandparents. Mr. Spencer took me on a trip, showed me something and said, that could be you one day. And as soon as he said that could be me, I thought, what? That? You imagine looking at the England team warming up when you're 10, England under 15s, they're warming up, and your head teacher says, that could be you one day. And you're like, could that be me? So just the question of could that be me is enough to investigate the answer. And then you get a little bit of success, a glimmer of something, and that butterfly is shining because it's fluttering, it's flying. And a lot of people that feel those butterflies, as we call it gets labelled with anxiety, it gets labelled with nerves. When I work with people and they say, Luke, I just get so anxious when I'm about to do this. I'm like, tell me about the feeling. And they tell you what the feeling is, and then cleverly they bring it back to it's like I get butterflies in my tummy, it makes me feel sick. I'm like, what do butterflies do? They'll say, fly. So what colour are butterflies? They'll say, bright and beautiful. I'm like, so a butterfly's a good thing? Well, yeah, but when I feel them, it makes me feel a certain way. I'm like, I know, it means you're alive. Because some people you may ask, when was the last time you felt that? And they can't remember because they're not really alive. They're here, but they're not feeling. And if you can feel them butterflies in your tummy, often you're alive and you're doing some great stuff. Because if you feel that, you're stepping outside of what you know. And stepping into the unknown is where the excitement lives and where the magic is found. Yet lots of people, when I ask them, when was the last time you felt the butterflies? When was the last time you stepped outside of your comfort zone? They have to go back a long time. Where kids every day will say, well, yesterday I had to speak at the front of the class. Yesterday I had to draw a picture on the board. Yesterday, adults, we go, can't think, because we get comfortable in everything and it's uncomfortable to feel that feeling, so we avoid it. And I've just been someone that seeked it because I know I never ever want to get to the point I don't feel that. Now, I do lots of things that create that, but I also try and do things outside of what I'm good at that create that too. Because if you only do things that you're good at, there's a confidence there that I'm good with this, it's okay. But things like I played chess the other day with a guy, I've never played chess for 20 years, don't know the rules, met a guy that I bumped into, saw him playing with his girlfriend in a coffee shop. I interrupted and said, could you teach me? Got his number. A week later, I met him. First game, he taught me how to play. Second game, we proper hustled each other and we're playing. And we had an hour just at this game. Like, because I'm rubbish at the game. So I felt uncomfortable because I'm rubbish. Because everything else I do, I believe I can do to a level that gets me through. But because I was rubbish at it, it intimidated me. So I played it. And then I walk into the gym and a guy on a treadmill, he's always on the same treadmill, a guy called Will, say hello to him. We have a 3-minute conversation and he somehow mentions the game chess. He's a member of a chess club in Lincoln. He goes, why don't you come? And my instinct was to go, because I'm rubbish. And I went, what do you mean, why don't I come? I said, do you have to be good at the game? He said, I play for the county and I never win when I go. He said, 10-year-olds come along and beat me. I'm like, I'll come. So it's like, okay, I said, I'll be there because I don't want to go because I'll be really uncomfortable. But that'll help me be comfortable in moments that I want to be. So I'm now going to go along and get my ass kicked by these young kids and people that are great at the game. I don't even understand the rules properly. So you imagine walking in and I'll go on my own because, again, that's intimidating. Because if I don't do that, I'm shying away from something that will help me grow. And if I'm walking down the street and I see Stephen Bartlett, I'd be cool with going over and having a conversation with him, just because I've done all of those things to build me up to that moment. And I think all of the things that make you uncomfortable, people shy away from, and I think you should go at them. And the only reason people shy away from it is because they're too bothered what other people think. Will my story be interesting enough? Will people watch my TED Talk? Who gives a shit? You've done it. Your kids will know you've done it. They'll be inspired by you doing it. That is all that matters. I come nearly last on the 100-mile ultra run. I scraped in an hour and 4 minutes to go. My kids aren't bothered that I was nearly last. My kids go, my dad ran 100 miles. He's 46, whatever I was at the time. My dad did that. They'll always remember that. They won't care what time I got, but lots of people don't enter it because of the fear of the time that they'll get, or not even finish like I did 2 years before. So my message would be to me, and as I go, often when I'm sharing these words, I'm talking to myself at the same time, of just don't let the fear of it not working stop you.
Some of the most fascinating conversations we've had in here with people, they adopt that same principle. They're a bit like Jim Carrey of Yes Man, where they just say yes to things. They're not bothered. They just embrace it. And it doesn't matter whether they look stupid, whether they're crap at it. They just give it a go, and you create connections. You build skills. You have great stories. You learn life lessons, things you can pass on to other people like you do, or your kids if you are a parent. Be more of a yes man. I've always said that. And if I was to ever pass any information or wisdom onto Harlow, it would definitely be that. It'd be a yes person. Say yes to things. Do things. Explore. Educate. It's so important. It is. It's people's own maybe insecurities and lack of self belief that stops them.
When was the last time you did something that made you feel that you was like yes, and you knew it was going to challenge you?
Oh, that's a good question. Kids' parties. I usually say no to them. I usually just go, I'm not going to do it. And then I've started going to more recently, just because I'm like, I want to spend time with her. And if that's an hour out of my weekend away from her, I've got to have some uncomfortable conversations and some awkward chats. And I tend to avoid them because I'm like the fitness guy, like you said, and everyone wants to ask me about fitness and they know that's what I'm for. I spend all week talking and working within that. Sometimes at my weekends, I'll avoid those situations because it kind of brings that chat on more. But I was like, you know what, I'll take a little bit of fitness chat if it means I get to go and spend some time with her. So that's probably the one that kind of springs to mind off the top of the head. But I'm sure there's been others. I've been trying to be more like that recently.
And an interesting note, right? So something that you're building, your platform, you're building your platform in the fitness world, your podcast, and that's, so people is a real positive that they're asking you. So they see you as someone that's an expert in that field. Which is like a byproduct of doing what you do. Wherever I go, it's the same thing. And I, like you saying there, I understand what you're saying of you do it all week. So I never avoid them conversations. And the only reason why is because I'm grateful to somebody wants to ask me something. Because when I was shifting bricks and filling up pig feed, nobody wants to talk to me.
No farmers, might maybe.
Nobody said to me, how do you fill up a bag and staple it before you put it in the box? So I went from everyone wanting to talk to me to everyone wanting to find out what went wrong, to now when people say, Luke, a guy asked me recently, how do you overcome imposter syndrome? And I'm like, I appreciate that question, because he sees me as someone of value to answer it. So for you that goes to the parties that's getting asked that is a privilege, because you have got yourself to a position that people admire you enough to ask you a question. And they're asking you that because obviously it's a comfortable go-to, isn't it? It's like fitness is an easy thing for them. I think the gift in the conversations is to flip the script straight back. So when people want to talk about me when I'm somewhere, they'll go, are you the guy that does that? Oh, tell me. And as soon as I tell them one thing, I'll say, what would you do if you had more of that confidence though that you're talking about? Off they go. And I just sit and sip my coffee for 10 minutes and it's wonderful.
Fitness is quite a good open air conversation because they're kind of indirectly asking you about themselves.
Yeah, correct.
They're saying like, I've been trying this for a while, but it doesn't quite work. And then I can say, well, have you tried this?
Yeah.
Is this part of your lifestyle? Have you tried this little kind of trick? And they might say something and you start to develop the conversation. It kind of goes to places sometimes that you didn't know. And you do get in some fascinating chats, but I think I've been doing this over a decade now, right? 10 years. So in the first 5 years, yes, ask me the questions. Great, I'm that person.
Yeah.
Second 5 years, you're like, this is getting a little bit savvy now. But then again, recently I've kind of embraced it a little bit more, which has been good. And
do you sign them up? Do you get them signing up to your program?
I once signed up a taxi driver. He was taking me somewhere. Yeah, that's one of my claims to sales.
That's a skill.
I was in a taxi somewhere and he got me. I only did it because I had a friend who was doing the same thing, and we used to have a bit of a competition to kind of see who the most obscure people we could sign up. And he would tell me about, he went to like a shop and got chatting to one of the guys behind there about fitness, and he signed him up. I was like, right, I'm going to outdo him now. So I'd get in a taxi and I started kind of giving him the spiel. It's hard to come across not salesy though. I tend to find just telling people about your story into exercise and how you kind of grew the business and what you did and the trials and tribulations, and just talking a little bit technical sometimes, giving it a little bit of something just makes them feel like you know what you're talking about. And there's a real art to sales, but again, it's not really about that looking back. It was more about conversation. You were having a good chat with someone. I did always leave that kind of interaction thinking that never would have gone down the path it had gone down if I'd just sat quiet in the back and hadn't started that conversation. Even if it was a bit salesy, even if there was a little bit of a prerequisite for me starting that conversation, you get something from it, you learn about someone. There's a bit of an information exchange there.
Well, you're practicing for this, it's all of them taxi conversations, them the party conversations. I see lots of that as practicing for when it is for real. Like when I'm going to coffee shops, for example, I'm practicing my content before I turn up to that talk. That person won't know, but I'm interacting with them and I'm asking questions, and then it's like finding your way. So that when you're hosting a podcast and you get a guest on here that's got 5 million followers, all of that taxi conversation, all those parties that you're getting bombarded with, you're just so good at freestyling conversation because the art of spontaneous conversation is disappearing. And if you're good at that and somebody brings something to you and you're there for it, it's like repetition that you said earlier. It's like rep after rep after rep. The parties, I think, are a dream for you to be practicing new content, practicing new questions, practicing answers in a different way, using words that you wouldn't use your words because it doesn't matter if you don't get it right. So it's practicing all the time, like content. Okay, today when I go to that party, I'm going to talk to someone about this subject. How do I get them onto that subject? And it's like becomes a challenge. Like you was excited by signing up with a taxi driver because you're challenging yourself to your previous one. And I think that's how I stay stimulated. When I meet people, I think, I'm not going to tell them anything. I did a speech recently. I can't remember where it was. I did a speech and didn't tell them anything about me. It was a 2-hour session actually with the police, another one. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know what I'd done. They didn't know anything about me other than the person that introduced said, this is Luke Staton. He's come along to do a seminar with us around mindset and inspiration. That was it. And at the end, I still hadn't told them anything that I've told you about my childhood, my football. I threw things in through curiosity to intrigue their mind to be thinking, who actually is he? Because as soon as they're thinking that, they're not thinking of what time's tea. They're focused on me and what I'm saying. And then at the end, when it all was revealed, like the TED Talk, where it comes back that boy is you, it's more of a, not still talking about himself. He's telling a story that's relative to us, and actually he is part of that story. And I think just practicing skills like that, people often say to me, I'd love to do that. And I'm like, if you want to do that, do all of this because it'll help you do that. And like, I can't be bothered with that. I'm like, well, you might find a better way because I'm just telling you what I've done to be able to get on there and speak for 3 hours without running out is because I'll speak to people when I don't want to and I'm tired and I just want to go home. I'll force it because if I can do it when I'm tired and I've got nothing left, I can do it when I feel good, easy. It's like doing another set when you've had enough. And you're on the bench and someone says another set, you're like, no, I'm done. But Brad's there and you go, no, come on. Okay, you do them. And then before you know it, you do another 3 sets. That's the same with human connection, that when you're tired and life's tough and being in a good mood is scarce for the reasons to be in a good mood for whatever's happening, and you can still show up and do that and be that one that people gravitate to, I think that gives you an advantage over everybody else. That's been my advantage, that people that do what I do will go, I'm done. and I'll stay. And I'll talk to you. I'll speak to that young lad who's 19 that's asking me about imposter syndrome, when I can just go and miss my trains often, because I'll stay. If I can stay, I will stay until that last person finishes that conversation. And I'll always carry that philosophy, because if it weren't for that philosophy, I wouldn't have got there in the first place. And that guy who's 19 that wants to learn about imposter syndrome, what he really wants to tell me is that his mum died a year ago and he regrets not having a final conversation with her. How does he overcome that? That's the real reason. So if I don't give him that moment there of imposter syndrome, which is just an easy in for him, we don't get to the real thing that is suffering mentally because his mum died and didn't get a chance to have a final conversation. And thankfully I shared a few words with him and he embraced me, and then we're in touch now, still on social media. So them moments, the best moments, I believe, are when the performance is over, when the gym session's done and that person's driving home feels good, or you've said something that then someone goes home and thinks about, or you leave today and you start, what would my TED talk be? And and as soon as you write 3 or 4 words down, you're like, okay, and then you like sit up in your chair. And Rick Rubin, who wrote The Creative Way, said when the idea comes, he's Jay-Z's producer, when Rick Rubin, in a book called The Creative Way, he says that when the idea comes, go with it. If it's 3 a.m, go with it, because that idea will escape you, and the next day you'll wake up and you go, what was that again? And you're taking Harlow to school, or it's gone. So you have to be prepared to do that stuff to get that final result. But I don't think people really understand that. You mentioned earlier, before we even came on air, I think, about comedians, how inspiring they are that they can stand up and perform. But people like Ricky Gervais do 300 probably hours of practice content, touring, when not many is listening, to make sure it's ready. I see that as like your kids' parties, basically. You know what I mean? And it's trying to reframe how we see things, because when you're tired, it's difficult. But that's when I think you've still got to find a way. And the kids' parties, or whatever it is for you, for me, it's going to big corporate parties and stuff. I really don't like it. I get invited to stuff and I do all that I can to avoid it. I don't want to dress up in a suit. I don't want to sit on a table when everyone's getting hammered, getting drunk. I don't drink. So I don't feel comfortable. Probably part of my own upbringing was my own self-worth is I don't feel worthy of being in a ball with these people. So I have to really work hard on that internal dialogue to not go, because I'm waiting for a reason to not go. Do you know what I mean?
I'm exactly the same. Those situations, just not my bag. And I quit drinking this year as well, and so avoiding those.
What inspired that?
I'm an all or nothing person. We've spoke about this before, but I literally am either all in or all out, and I just realised that the kind of 3 a.m, 4 a.m. sessions I haven't got in me anymore, and you get to a certain age where you've got kids and you just can't do it. But
how old are you now?
I'm 34 now. 34, and I think you just I can go 6 months without drinking, but when the reins are off, I'm all in there. Like, I really want to push, having a good time, and it affects everything from your mindset to your training. I call it the anxiety the day after, when you're anxious about everything. That can take a week to shift sometimes. And you kind of, in a weird roundabout way, not preaching, not doing what you preach. So you're in sessions with clients, telling them you can't really go OTT alcohol. You've got goals, you've got things you want to achieve. Behind closed doors, you're having these mad sessions a little bit, going out drinking and stuff, and you're like, I just can't, I can't keep doing this. And it felt wrong. So for me, it was just like, knock it on the head. I haven't missed it one bit.
Really?
Yeah, it's been so much easier than I thought. And that probably highlights in my own mind that it was the right time.
Yeah. And what do you think you love so much about doing it?
It's ingrained in our social kind of interactions, isn't it? I say it with clients, like when someone tells me they're going out with their friends from uni, immediately I'm like, it's just going to be a boozy one, because it's what friends from uni do. It's what they did back in the day. It's all they've ever known is that drinking occasion when they're together. And when you come away from that, it's you kind of get to see them as a little bit of an outcast sometimes. And I went to a wedding this year, I told you, and it was hard because everyone was drinking. It was the most tested I've been. But you have an option and a choice in that moment to be like, I'm either going to be that guy on the sideline of the dance floor, not getting involved, being a little bit like, oh, this is great, you know, but looking like you're faking it. Or you can go, you know what, I'm going to match the energy. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to be the person who's like, you know, jumping around like I am drunk a little bit. And even the groom came up to me and said, you know, it looks like your drinking ban hasn't lasted very long. Then I said, I hadn't drank a drop, mate. He goes, coffee, you definitely had a few beers. I was like, no, honestly, I'm just
really good.
I'm just high on life, and I'm there, I'm present, I'm in the moment, I'm getting involved. I've got a decision. I can either walk away from here being like that was a shit time abroad because I didn't really get involved in the wedding, or I can be like, that was awesome and I didn't drink at the end of it. I've not got a hangover. It's a decision, isn't it? It's a decision you make. And
did you feel uncomfortable at first when you was matching it when you weren't drunk, or did you just
no? I kind of because I was with my mates who I haven't seen for a while from back home. It was very it was really like just as normal as it should have been, which is great. And again, just probably another reason why I can do this and not feel bad about it. So it was good. I don't know how we got onto that, but
drinking,
drinking.
Honestly,
do you drink, Brad?
No, again, probably Ryan's really been a big inspiration from this, because I used to just dabble in it for little occasions, and then when I looked into it, I'm like, why am I doing this? And it were more the association. I'm like, I quite like that you're at a barbecue, sun shining, I have a Corona, and it's not the alcohol that I'm chasing, it's like the feeling of the Corona. Yeah. And I'm like, well, there's zero alternatives. I'll just go for that. And then literally Ryan said anxiety then, I've never really struggled with any sort of anxiety or worry, and I started to feel it after drinking. I'm like, do you know what? Screw this. Yeah. What's the point? I'm all right. I'll not be missed. I went out with some mates on Saturday night. A few of them got absolutely steaming. Went to Wetherspoons, 199 pints, and it just went a bit silly. And I was just there. I'm driving. I'm on 0%, lads. And like Ryan said, just match their energy. Yeah. Just match their energy, and woke up next day, felt great.
Enjoyed the night.
Yeah, exactly. Friends, belly full of food. Just enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think it grows your self-confidence and discipline, doesn't it, as well, when you can resist it. There's an internal thing of saying, I did well there, because you want to get in the mix. Like that youngster in you is there, isn't it? That mischievous person. But when you avoid it and miss it, I think you're like, okay, what else could I do?
Yeah. And deep down, like in the past, I think that I said, "Oh, just leave your car here. Go and just get a taxi." And then you go, "Oh no, I don't want to." They're 3 quite empowering words for me. 3, I don't want to. 4, forward. Rather than, oh no, I can't. I've got my car. Lads sort of see that as a bit of a challenge. As soon as I went, no, I'm right, lads. I don't really want to drink. They just left me alone.
That's a good point you make there. Rather than blaming the car, and they're like, "Well, just leave it." They find solutions. Yeah,
as soon as you say, I don't want to. Yeah, I found that interesting.
Yeah.
What parts of your story haven't you told? Is there anything you haven't told? Have you been completely open and honest with everything you put out there so far in the book, online? Is there any parts of your story that you've not told, don't feel comfortable sharing?
There probably is, but there's nothing that I've not shared on purpose.
Okay.
So if there was relevant parts of my story that I felt would add value to the reader, listener, viewer, then I would have shared it.
Okay.
There probably is elements that I've not shared because maybe too raw for me, certain elements, but then not felt the desire for it to be shared. So I think throughout your whole life, I've often shared stuff in the moment that's happening in the moment, but people think it's 20 years ago, so I've kind of used raw emotion and real life trials and tribulations to bring more energy to a seminar, to a talk, to a story, because I'm actually living that story in that present moment. So I know the feeling of that. Yet people feel it's a prehistoric story because I'm there to facilitate the people in front of me, and I'll do all that I can without jeopardizing my own mind and body health to bring that fire, to bring that energy. So sometimes I've been thought, should I share that? Is it too deep for me? Can I hold it together when I'm sharing that story? And often I cry when I'm delivering speeches. Yeah, I'm not. I did it. Happened on Friday night last week when you don't think you're gonna. It comes, and it's being cool with it coming because we're real people. So on Friday I delivered 1 a.m. I did a 2-hour talk to South Yorkshire Police. Great session, really good energy. Get in the car, get a lift to the train station, get on a train, travel an hour, get home, get a shower, turn up at the next event locally as a favour really to a friend of mine that's got a business. He was doing an evening celebration of his clients, and he's like, would you come along? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So he's been asking me for 4 or 5 years. So I was like, okay, I can make that one. So I went along on my own, turn up, and I delivered, 20 minutes, and it got me 2 or 3 times because I went in, I went in to areas that I knew would purposefully to create that energy that I wanted to bring them. And then it's, can you just hold it to get through it without it going too far?
Yeah.
So sometimes some stories that I will share and bring, no matter how many times I've told them, and sometimes I don't know I'm going to bring that story to the conversation until it comes, and then I'm in it and I'm reliving it. And when you really tell a story wonderfully well, when you watch great storytellers, you're living that story as they're telling it. You can see it, and the only way that you can see it is if they're articulating it in a way that's descriptive enough that they can feel your energy. And when I look around the room and I can see tears in people's eyes, and I know they're listening because they're just looking, and I can see their face, you can tell someone's expression, I know I've got a chance now to plant that seed of where they can go with that message. So I'm on the cusp sometimes of, can I get these words out? And I have to pause, and it hits me, and I'm like, 1, 2 seconds, and breathe it out, and then carry on. And then it might get me again. It got me 2 or 3 times on Friday night. And when it gets you, it gets there. So you're mirroring, and they're going on that emotional journey with you as you're telling that story, because they can see the suffering that you've been through, the pain that you've been through, the gratitude that you've now got, and appreciation for that you found a way to move through that they become connected to you in a way that they never forget that moment. They never forget the moment. I've been walking down the street in different countries, running down the street in different countries, and someone spotted me and crossed the road and said, "You're Luke." And they only know me from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago from a 45, 60-minute talk, and they was in the audience, but they remember, and I'll say, what do you remember? And they can always remember something, a story. Oh, you told us about that. And it's amazing that people just remember. A guy come up to me the other day in a pub. I've not seen him for 10 years. And he just put his arm around me. I looked up, and he's like, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, "I definitely do remember you. I was the fitness coach for Newark Rugby Club at the time. Probably longer than 10 years. And he's like, "I always remember what you said." And he relayed a phrase that I used. 2015 he's going back to, maybe earlier. It was one phrase. Now, that one phrase made him feel connected enough to come and put his arm around me, because he knew I'd be comfortable with that and embrace that moment. And then we talked about all sorts. And he's like, "Luke, when's your next thing? My wife would like to come," and off we went. So I think that I only share things that I believe are going to be relevant to the person listening, not because I want to tell you that I played for England or I played in the Champions League. There's got to be a relevant reason. And too many people that I've watched and listened to, they just want to tell you stuff because they love that stuff, which is a wonderful thing. But I always think, what's the point of that? As I'm sat with you, I'm being very open and just sharing what comes. But as I'm thinking of where I'm going with that, I'm thinking, what's the point of that for the listener? What's the relevance? Because if it's just I've done that, it doesn't have the impact.
You mentioned that energy that you evoke. One of my questions were going to be, how do you decide on that energy to muster up? And I suppose my second question, which is probably more relevant now, is who was the last person you met who sparked a certain energy or feeling for you, where you think, they've made me feel something really special there?
Yeah, that's great questions, Brad. So the first one is, how do I evoke that energy? Is that, do you mean that in a sense of when I want to bring that?
Yeah, so you mentioned you did a talk for the police and then a separate one. I imagine they were 2 very different energies. Was that based on the energy in the room, the message that you wanted to portray? Because some people have a flagship talk, which you could argue yours would be like the TED Talk, which you had to bring a certain emotion and try and evoke a certain response from that. How do you decide on what response you want to bring? Is it just what value you can bring to the audience?
Yeah, so for me, it's always, if I'm in that audience, what do I want to leave with? What would be of benefit to somebody sat there listening to me with what I've done, what I'm doing, and what I know? And then I will start to articulate how to get to that place. Which story will take them on a journey that, number one, they understand that I'm a real person just like them. They can see the authenticity and the genuine want to support them listening. It's not about me, it's about them. So how do I achieve that? I want to be vulnerable, because when someone's vulnerable, you can relate to them, because we are all vulnerable, not all courageous enough to be vulnerable. But when you are vulnerable and you can share that of yourself, I think, again, the barrier comes down from the listener that you're a real person that's been to places, that's been tough, and you've found a way. And then you're building a rapport through those conversations that once that rapport's being built, the gift is to get someone to connect to you, and then they'll listen to you, and then they'll do something with what they've heard from you. But if you can't create the connection that you're not always going to get, and it's an acceptance of not everybody is going to connect, it's cool. But if I can bring those elements of vulnerability, realness, through a story that is true and compelling enough to capture them, that they're being hypnotized by these words, and hence, I try and link words on top of words that rhyme and take you through time and do that for you, because then you're going on that like poetic journey of a story, and then they're like thinking of, who was my Mr. Spencer? You said earlier, you reminded me of my mum when she was young, said it's important to be kind, it's more, it's kind. What was the exact phrase?
It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Correct. Yeah. And what I talked about triggered that for you. That guy from the police sent me a message because what I talked about triggered that for him. So the success of any talk, of any coach, any teacher, is what people do with what you do. It's not what you do. The purpose isn't what you do. The purpose is what people do with what you say and what you do. Because if they act on that, you're finding a way. It's like you're the conductor at the orchestra, and that's all you're there to do, really. So the energy for me comes from be myself, be real, be open, be honest, be vulnerable. Select a story that's most relevant to that audience, that could take them on a journey that they'll leave and remember forever. And if they can remember something forever, they'll do something different forever too. And I've got so many messages on my phone. That's my reward. That's my kryptonite, or whatever it is. That's my fuel, my fire. That if I read that, my energy's good. So when I went to do that talk on Friday night, I've had to pick myself up in the morning for 2 hours, and then have a lull, and then go again. So it's like doing 2 gym sessions in a day. Yeah. You feel a bit fatigued, but you still got to perform, because they want you to think you want to train like it's your first one. So when I'm on the way, I'm listening to music that gets me emotional. I'm listening to things, not sure what I'm going to say, new environment, new audience. And I walk into the room on the Friday night, and there's an elderly gentleman sat there. He looks super smart. And I don't know about you guys, but my granddad always used to look super smart. He always used to have a suit. Sat watching telly all day with a suit on. I think that's like class, isn't it? Walk in. Where are you going today, granddad? Nowhere.
I've just been to the shops in my 3-piece.
Not even that.
Yeah.
Just been for a walk with the dog, and he's got a suit on. Yeah. So I always admired how smart, and his shoes on, the whole works. So I walk into the room, and there's a guy sat there, elderly gentleman. I say hello, because I'm trying to get comfortable. I walk in, and in 10 minutes, I'm talking. So as I walk in, he's sat there, he's got this beautiful green jacket on, and his wife sat next to him, and he just looked at me, and straight away I felt comfortable. I said, oh, hello. I said, do you come to this clinic? And he said, yeah. And we have a conversation. He said, who are you? I said, well, I'm coming to share a few words with you today. And he's like, what about? I said, my life, a bit of my journey. And he's like, okay. I said, and then I asked him a couple of questions, and he shared 1 or 2 things in that interaction that really got me. I said to him, when I go to the front, would you come and join me, Les? He's 91. I said, would you come and join me at the front and share what you just shared with me about, being an evacuee in 1941 and being lined up at the train station? Someone just comes along and goes, I'll take you, and you're gone for 2 years, just gone. I said, would you come and share that? He's like, I will not. He goes, I will not. And he laughs. And I think probably what I've learned over the years is to encourage, not force. So I believe in encouraging people to do what they want to do, but they may not know that they want to do it in that moment. So when I go up and I get introduced, I thought, share a few words that will just kickstart me to then hopefully get Les to feel comfortable with me, to come and join me. And he takes the mic, because I thought that would be really great, because his life, I want to hear it. So I started with, and then I said, but I'm just wondering, I said, often when I do talks, my goal is to not talk. It's to pass the mic on to people that have done wonderful things. And I wonder if Les, who's 91 years of age, and he's like this, like just waving his finger going no. I said, I wonder if Les would come and join me. And no problem if not, Les, but if you would, I'd be really honoured. And then there's a part of it probably thinks I don't want to let you down now because I'm saying it for all these people are waiting. And he got up, comes walking to the front, and he stands there. And honestly, he like the room just went silent. The room went silent. He just stood there, and I shook his hand. Beautiful photos of this moment too. I'm so pleased someone catch it. Shake his hand. He stands next to me, and he took his wonderful green jacket off, and he's got a tie cardigan. I mean, the guy looked great. And he stands there, and he says, okay, he said, I weren't expecting this, but in 1941, and off he went. He said, I was 7 years of age and I got evacuated from London to Wales. Didn't even know where Wales was. And me and my cousin got off the train, lined up at the station, and we were just selected to go and live with people. And Mr. and Mrs. Morgan took me and my cousin in. And he said, and this is why I think I was so emotional, because he said, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, I'm ever so grateful to them. He said, they looked after me like I was their own children. And I've got goosebumps just telling you this, but when I'm stood there, his gratitude for them people for what, like 80 years ago, whatever it was incredible. And he spoke about them, about how they cared for him. And then he looked at me and went, do you want me to tell some more? I said, please do. And then he continued. Wow. And then he talked about coming back to London after 2 years of not seeing his loved ones at 7 years of age, coming back, and what life was like for him when he come back. And then he paused, he looked at me, smiled, and I knew that was his time. He'd done what he'd wanted to do. And the whole room gives him a big round of applause. He shakes my hand and he sits down. And then, so then now I'm really in an emotional state, because I'm allowing his energy to impact me. I could desensitize if I wanted to. I could ignore that to do something that I'm going to do to deliver the right message. But I felt it's the right thing for me to feel this, to now share what I'm going to share. And I was there to share the story of Credo, the butterfly that's bright and beautiful, to fly and flourish. So it went from Les, who's 91, and Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, to me, who's 10 years of age, and Mr. Spencer does for me what Mr. and Mrs. Morgan did for Les. So it fitted beautifully well. And then I shared a story of Credo and the butterfly, and wanting to go and fly and flourish, go to magnificent places, and Les is over there. I could see it, honestly, he was stood, and it was like he was glued, because he's thinking of what he's just done. And then when it all finishes, and that's when I got me 3 or 4 times. So his wife comes walking to the front, and Les was like a superstar. Everyone's going over to him, which was wonderful, making him feel great. Like, well done, Les, you were great. And he's living the dream. He's had
his own little TED talk.
He's living the dream. At 91, he's living the dream. And his energy was just beautiful to see. And his wife, Christina, comes up to me, and I could see as she was coming, she wanted to talk to me. And she just put her hands out like this, like palms of her hands, and reached out to get my hands. And I obviously, put my hands out, and she just held my hands. People don't do that, do they, now?
No, it's an old fashioned, isn't it?
Her hands was there, and she didn't shake my hand. She held them and kept holding them. And I could feel her hands like this. And she just looked at me, and she was thanking me for what had just happened. Because I didn't know this. Of course I didn't know this, but Les had just been diagnosed with dementia.
Wow.
And he'd lost all his confidence. And she said he has never ever in his whole life spoken to a group of people, ever.
Wow.
And tonight he's done it. She said he's lost all his confidence recently because he's been diagnosed with dementia. I can't believe what he's just done. And I'm feeling that because I've been part of this moment with them, and I'm grateful that I'm a part of this moment, and I'm holding it. And she just didn't let go of my hands, like 2-3 minutes, and she's just like thanking me like this, and I'm thanking her for encouraging Les to not leave me at the front and joining me. So I hugged her, and then I go and see Les, and we have a photograph together, we have more conversation together, and I'm just kind of living that moment. And then as I leave, I get in on a bus and off I go. But that moment will stay. That's one of the greatest moments in 20 years that I've had, which was just me popping in, as they sometimes, inverted commas say, just do a talk. I don't believe in just doing a talk. I believe if you're turning up, bring everything that you've got with all that you've got and give it everything, because you just don't know. Now, that moment wasn't captured on film or footage, but it was captured on photographs. And to see that guy stood at the front and to know that I was a part of his moment, I don't know how many more moments Les has got. He doesn't know. I don't know how many more moments I've got. But if that's one of my last moments, I'm proud that I was part of it. And the doctor that was in the clinic, he said, I've known Les for years. He said, it reminded me of when they put a piano in front of somebody that's got dementia, and it just all comes back. He said, I've never seen him talk like that, because he'd gone back to a moment that he really felt. So it was there. You might not remember immediate, but it just was there, and it flowed. It flowed like he was a professional.
That's the thing with dementia, isn't it?
100%.
Dementia, it's short term you struggle with, long term that you've really got there. And I remember my original point, it's about emotion.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Everything you've said there, whether it's your own speeches, Les' speeches, it's emotion. It's great that you're not afraid in the moment as well, in like a snap second, to be like, I'm going to share this. It's maybe something quite recent and close, but I'm going to make a decision to share this because it's real, it's raw. I know in this moment, based on the topic and the questions that I'm getting asked, this would suit really well here. And you're always thinking about how can I inspire and connect and just get that raw emotion out of people, because that's how they make change, isn't it? Then you can go on to your main point.
When you two guys create a workout for someone, you probably write down what the workout's going to be and the progression. But if they turn up and that exercise is not working, a good professional will change the exercise, not because it's easy, but something's better. And you've got to trust yourself to change that exercise, to change that story, because it's all about them, not you. Well, I want you to do this because I've already written it, and I want to demo it because it makes me look good, or that story I want to tell. If that story is not worth them listening to, I'm not going to tell it. So that's the gift of when you want to tell a story, you got to realize it's not about you, it's them. And if that story is not going to do the job, don't tell it. Tell something else. Save that for another day. But that's when you just got to articulate. Like you guys will have, you could, if I said name 50 exercises, you'd just keep going, wouldn't you? I wouldn't, because it's not my arena. But then when you got collecting stories and Les's of the world, I'll tell Les's story till the day I die now, because I feel it so much. I want to keep telling it. And I think moments like that are what really inspire me to keep doing what I'm doing.
So, Luke, I'm really keen to make sure that maybe kids who are listening, maybe parents have got this far and thought, my child needs to listen to this man. How would you address kids listening in particular about how they can really be brave and be courageous and keep that child alive?
Yeah. So how would I address young people is to create a dream, something that you love about life, something that you want to take up, follow, enjoy. It doesn't need to be something that you're going to do as a career to earn money, but find things that you enjoy, hobbies, passions, interests, whatever it is, and just go with it. But don't think that that's the only one that you can have. So if you've got a dream and you've got a passion and you decide that that's no longer your dream or your passion, just swap it for something else. Too many people stick at stuff because they think that they'll be seen as a quitter. Quitting's a great thing to do if you don't enjoy it. That's not quitting, that's changing direction. So lots of young people that find something that they're really passionate about, if they're not passionate about it anymore, I do suggest change it for something else. Don't stay in it like people do in the working world for 40 years and then at the end wish that they changed. And also to have ambitions and aspirations that super exceed your wild expectations. So when you set yourself crazy ambitions and raise your aspirations that succeed your expectations, what I mean by that is it seems so unrealistic that you could ever do it. Start to look at that and go, okay, well, if I was to do that, what's the things that I need to improve on and get better at in terms of a human being, physical, mental? Because what happens a lot is, and I see this with all different ages of people, me included, our ambitions sometimes are like super sky high, but actually the actions don't match. So the ambitions are super like sky high. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a professional athlete. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to travel the world. But their actions are massively off. And I think it's really important to then challenge yourself, go, okay, my ambitions are there. Do my actions give me the best chance of reaching that? And if the answer is no, you've either got to accept that you're going to have to lower your ambitions and aspirations, or up your game and raise your actions. You will have guys all the time want to be fit, want to look good, want to have a six-pack, but then want to have a McDonald's and want to drink loads. The actions don't match. So it's like, okay, if that's your ambition, what's it going to take? Well, I'm going to have to live like this, behave like this, look like this, talk like this, learn like this, read like this. Instead of gaming, I'm going to have to go to the gym. Instead of scrolling TikTok, I'm going to have to read that book about Elon Musk because he's a phenomenal inventor. If I want to be an inventor, I need to read someone that's done it. And what's incredible is we live in a world where everything that's been done is available to learn from. And AI will even give you a business plan from A to Z of how to do it. But people won't read it because it takes effort. So if you're not prepared to put the effort in to match the ambition, it's having a realization that ambition is just a dream, really, that's not going to happen unless you act upon it. So I'm very honest with young people like that. They tell me that they want to achieve this, but they're behaving in a way that isn't congruent. Like you talked about earlier, Ryan, that I want to be, you didn't say these words, but I think you do, and you are. I want to be a role model to people that want to improve their lives through health, physical and mental. But if you're getting smashed at the weekend and laying in bed all day when your child wants to go out and play, but you're rough, that is not congruent with what you're saying. So you are not going to fulfill your ambition living like that. So you decided, I don't want that action because it doesn't match my ambition. I'm going to change it. That's what I believe is the difference between those that do incredibly well and those that just do okay. That they actually challenge themselves to live like the person they want to become in the future today to be there tomorrow. And kids can do that really well because kids can change faster than adults because they've got less bad habits and they're a lot younger. I would also say from the other side of parents is that I think the worst thing we can say as parents is be negative towards our child's dreams, aspirations, ambitions. And just that one phrase, if a child comes to you and shares, I'd love to do that, and your first thing is, what would you want to do that for? And you're squashing their butterfly before it's had a chance to fly, you cannot underestimate the negative impact that them few words have. Just like you cannot underestimate the impact of 6 words from Mr. Spencer to me 36 years ago. I was fortunate that people filled me full of positive vibes. Some of us don't grow up with that. So if you're a child and you're hearing, why would you want to do that? You'll never be able to. You aren't intelligent enough. You aren't clever enough. I don't believe any of it's true. I think the only truth within the feedback parents and teachers give and coaches is, if that's your ambition, and you're not living congruent to your ambition, then you've got to ask yourself, is it really important to me, yes or no? And that's what I would say to young people. Don't just have a dream and think it's going to happen and you can manifest everything in the world. It happens without putting the effort in. It doesn't. It's got to be matched by action. It's got to be matched by the effort. But don't let that dream slip away because you're not prepared to put a bit more energy into that dream. So that would be my message to young people and to adults too. Adults was asking me recently at a talk, coming up to me and saying, yeah, my child, struggling with anxiety and all of these things. So often adults come and talk to me. They want to talk to me about a challenge at home with a child that they want. You love your children more than anything or anybody in the world. And if your child's suffering in some way, you want help with that. So a lady come to me the other day and she said, my child, doesn't want to go to school, suffering with anxiety, won't give new things a go, all of this stuff. And she said, I just keep telling her, just do it, just do it. So I said to her, you telling a child to do it has no impact, because they know they need to. They know they need to go to school. They know they need to be brave enough to put their hand up. But the how isn't taught or shared. And she was like, okay. I said, I think a way that you could support potentially your child is by you do what you want her to do and show that you're courageous enough to pursue something greater for you, which inspires your child to go, well, if my mum can do that, I wonder what I can do. And she's like, okay, what do you mean? I said, well, let's say, for example, you want to run 5K and you tell your daughter who's 8, your goal is to run 5K. And if your daughter sees you quit after a week, she'll think it's cool to quit because you're a role model. If your daughter sees you when it's snowing and freezing running and you keep doing that, and then you come home and you tell her how difficult it is, and your daughter then shares some wisdom with you, well done, mum, you're doing great, keep going. Subconsciously, what your child is doing is talking to herself. So your daughter now feels like she's mentoring and supporting, encouraging her mum, who she loves more than anybody in the world, and you're achieving it, and you're giving a lot of the emotional gratification to your daughter for inspiring you to do it. Your daughter will feel good because she's helped you do it. She'll then more likely to want to achieve things for herself because she's learning from you and mirroring your energy. She walks into the classroom feeling the vibe of her mum, and you can hear as I'm talking, my voice is already building up, reliving that role play. So I said, be more ambitious for yourself, and then ask your daughter for advice to stick to it. Your daughter will give you advice which subconsciously she's given herself advice. And the greatest way to learn is to teach. The greatest way to teach is to ask to be taught. And when you can do that, you don't need to tell them, just walk in, just put your hand up, because that's stating the obvious. The kid goes to catch the ball in goal. The ball goes straight through the kid's hands. It goes in the back of the net. He's 9 years of age, and the coach shouts, just catch it. And the kid puts his thumb up. The kid wants to catch it, but the coach doesn't tell him how to catch it. So the kid keeps letting the ball through his hands, and the coach keeps saying, just catch it. All you need to do is catch it. That's like you saying to me, all you need to do is 50 press-ups. Well, I know, but flipping heck, I can only do 3. Can you teach me how to do them properly? Yeah, okay, start on your knees, build it up. Right, now I know how, I'll execute it. And I think we live in a world where we tell people what to do, not show them. And we have to be role models for our children by stretching ourselves in some way, teaching them discipline through our actions. You cannot be a parent that walks down the street vaping and expect your kids to not vape. If you vape, you smoke, you drink, you fight, you swear, you treat people disrespectful, you throw cans of Coke on the floor when you finished it, you can't then look at your child and say, don't litter, because they are embracing you because you're the role model. And when I realised that, when my children's mum, who I'm not with now, we've been separated nearly a decade, we get on fantastically well. When I was drinking Red Bull, and when I was drinking alcohol, and when I was eating rubbish food, and I wasn't living true to who I wanted to be, but I wanted to be that guy, but was a mile away, she would say, just imagine everything that you put in your mouth, your son's going to do the same. And it instantly impacted me. I thought, I don't want him drinking Red Bull all day. I don't want him sat on the sofa drinking gin and tonics at weekends. I don't want him nipping to the pub at every opportunity he gets. And I don't want that. So I've got to change it for him, because sometimes you isn't enough to change, but for that little person, it definitely is. And that emotional leverage as a parent really is powerful. So I hope that helps with the young people. Just keep dreaming. No matter, don't think dreams are for kids. Dreams are for us all. And if you haven't got a dream, if you haven't got something that you're working towards, I think you're in fear of getting lost and getting a little bit frustrated with life and a bit low and a bit, what am I doing? Yeah. I see it all the time.
What an answer, by the way.
What a message.
What an answer.
What a message.
That's fantastic. And I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. Like, one of our big ethoses with the podcast was like how to help parents become heroes. And every parent wants to be a hero deep down to their kid, don't they? They want to be that superhero. But who's going to want to have a hero that doesn't battle their own demons, doesn't face their own fears? That's what heroes are for, right? They face those things head on. And a lot of people, like you said, are just expecting their kids to do that, but they're not challenging themselves. They're not doing the 5K. They're not going to the gym. They're not pursuing hard tasks, because that stuff registers with kids. It really does, in ways that we probably still, with all the kind of technology and understanding the human brain, we probably still don't understand.
Yeah.
And they're registering everything we do, from the, like you said, from all the kind of bad habits, food, drink, it all is just being registered. And I do sometimes think that we're like the way I am, and I'm sure you might have been quite introspective sometimes, like, what am I doing that I picked up from my own parents as well? Is there something that I'm doing right now that my parents at some point were doing, and it's just ingrained in my DNA? I often think about that. Is there anything that you think that you do right now?
There is, definitely. And as I'm doing it, I feel like my dad.
Okay.
You know, I can be saying something and thinking, I'm being like my dad here, because that's how my dad talked to me.
We all have phrases we say sometimes, and you go, my dad used to say that. It comes back to you.
But it's also not only the phrases, it's the attitude of what I'm saying it. And I'm like, I'm being my harsh dad. So my dad would be quite harsh often, for the right reason, but he didn't know how to do it in maybe a different way. And my mum too could be more harsh than my dad.
Not like your grandma.
No, she was the opposite. And I think I want to. So if my son does something or my daughter does something, I can get caught in the moment of responding like my dad would. And then afterwards I'm thinking, that weren't needed. That weren't needed, Dad. I could have done it in a more loving, kind way, but I didn't. And then I'm like, sorry, son, which my dad would have never have done, because he would have been like, no, you needed to be told. So I'm more like, I shouldn't have done it in that way. So 100%. I've also you take good things as well from what your parents do. So my dad's moral compass and his work ethic, and in a sense of his never give up, go after everything. My mum too, a work ethic, working loads of jobs, and my dad couldn't work from a young age due to ill health, so my mum was earning the money, my dad looked after us. So seeing my mum push bike, kids seat on the back, dropping 3 kids off at 3 different schools, all of that stuff, you subconsciously see someone that you just get up and you do it. And my dad couldn't work, so he looked after me. I know a father's role in my eyes is to make sure my children get to where they need to get to. So I have to get my son to his football. And the only reason I think like that is because my dad did it for me. So it's normal. And people say to me, gosh, you run your son's, you coach for your son's football team. How do you do it? I'm like, it's normal. My dad did that. So I see that as normal, where some kids' dads don't ever go and watch because they think they've got other things to do, which they probably have. But the kid wants you there on the sideline. That's all they want. And you don't realise how much they want you there until later in life when they share, oh, we should have come to watch me. So I think as parents, if you can be a hero to your own kids, it's got to start there. No point being a hero to the world and your own kids don't know who you are. You know, I don't know if Matthew McConaughey talked about this the other day of, he's a multimillionaire Hollywood movie star. And he was talking on a podcast about he's so ambitious and wants to achieve these things that then is like, at what sacrifice though? So it's like I'm traveling the world as a superstar, but then I've got my family, and so now his family go with him wherever he goes. So they've found a way.
I think it was Joe Rogan. He was on.
Was it?
Yeah. I listened to that one.
Yeah.
Fascinating bloke, actually.
He's wonderful, isn't he? Have you seen the film Interstellar?
Yes.
Yeah. One of my favourites of all time.
It's difficult. It's great. It gets you done it. You got children. It's like, gosh. And I think often Matthew McConaughey talking about Cooper and Murph in that Interstellar film of how Cooper leaves Murph to go and save the world. I think sometimes I question, what am I really striving for? Is it cool that I'm leaving to go? How do you get that balance right? So that you've got a guy there, who's a Hollywood movie star, multimillionaire, entrepreneur, that's still caught in, am I getting that right? Because he doesn't need the money, does he?
No. But it's the dad, it's the parent aspect like we spoke about before, that changes everything. You never would have had that second doubt about taking that role before.
No.
But being a parent humbles you. It makes you think about, you know, there's other people involved here. And, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, when you see your own kids struggling with something, how do you decide whether to kind of step in as a coach or step back as a father?
So, yeah, it's really challenging that, because my children do have challenges like the kids that I work with, but it's not the same as when you are trying to share some wisdom with your kids, because you're just their dad.
Yeah.
You know, so that is a real tough one. That, you know, all of them, my eldest daughter's 24, my son's 16, nearly 17, and Sienna's 13. So I've got Ellie, 24, Ronnie, 16, nearly 17, and Sienna, who's just turned 14, So they're going through stuff at all different levels at different times. And I don't want to be the preacher type, because your kids don't want it, do they?
No.
So I think the way that I have tried to, and my kids won't listen to this anyway, because they'll be like, it's just me dad talking again. So they've heard it all before. Maybe when they're older they will. And again, it's something good to leave for them. So I try and tell stories that will deliver a message without them knowing it. So my youngest daughter, who's 13, going through a tough time, didn't want to go to school. Quite often you see that with kids for whatever reason. So it's easy for me to say, you'll be fine, which she will, but it has no impact. So I rang her the other day and I was like, I said, you know, your mum was telling me about, you know, not wanting to go to school and things. And she's like, yeah, don't really want to talk about it. I'm like, okay. I said, do you know what? Can I tell you something? She's like, yeah. I said, when I wake up sometimes, I honestly don't want to go to work. And I wake up and I have a feeling in my stomach that's apprehension of the unknown. I don't know how things are going to work. I don't know how good the day's going to be. Am I going to find a way to get to that next level? Am I doing the right thing? What opportunities have I missed? What I'm going to take? And I'm like, but then what I do, Sienna, is I just look at a photograph of you and you inspire me to get out of my bed and go and make stuff happen. I just think of you and I just want to say thank you that you're my daughter, because you do inspire me on the days that my life's tough. You 100% do. I said, maybe you could look at something that makes you feel good, or think of something that makes you, I don't know, but you've got the answers. And she's like, yeah. And I didn't say anything, but I was trying to share an idea with her that would help her. Whether she does it or not, I don't know. Because looking at an image that inspires you can create an emotion inside that you feel good and feel safe and comfortable. And I'm telling her a true story there. So when it's your own kids, like my son at football, I'm the coach. I've done what he wants to do, and I understand watching him what he needs to do. But if I just keep telling him what to do, what if I don't make it to the next game? And I'm not at the next game, because if I know this sounds quite strong, but if I die, who tells him? If I die, who supports him? Nobody. So I'm trying to make my children in all areas of life find their own way through my guidance, but not be so dependent on me that they can't function without me. Because leadership, parenthood, a coach, your job, I believe my job is to get my loved ones in a place that they can live without me. And it's very difficult when they're young, because they need so much love, attention, emotion. Dad, I need my haircut. Can you transfer me 20 quid on Monzo? That's the stuff. And I'm trying to gradually come out of that. So if something happens to me, I know from looking down, they're going to be okay. And at the moment it wouldn't be, because my son would still be asking his mum where's his football boots. So basic stuff like that. And it sounds very small, but it's great. Dad, what time's my train? Dad, what time's the game? Dad. And it's like, because I love him and I want to support him and I feel needed and I love that feeling, I need to be going, son, you need to manage that app now, son. And if you've got the wrong kit, you wear the wrong kit. Whereas I'd be like, are you sure that's the right kit? Let me check. So I think to create independence within our children is the greatest thing that we can do. Some non-negotiables with my children that I'm still fighting like crazy to bring in. Number one, they must all do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Really?
Which none of them do, but I've told them they must do.
Okay.
I'm not letting this go.
Okay.
You must all do some kind of combat sport.
Why is that?
To take care of yourself if needed. Okay. So if you can do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or some kind of combat sport, I think, and I don't know because I've never done it, I'm going off what other gurus who I look up to, friends, family members that have done stuff like this, the self-confidence it brings you, knowing that you can take care of yourself if needed in a tough situation, I think brings a lot of confidence that you're going to be okay. So I'm like to my daughter, you've got to learn this stuff, because if you're on a tube station and something happens, you've got enough about you to take care of yourself. That confidence will ooze out. That's number one. Number two, you've got to learn about money. Something that I should have learned about a long time ago, never did. No one knew about it because of the environment that we grew up in. The money that I earned when I was young, I should have transformed my life, and it didn't because I didn't know what it was. So you got to learn about money. And the third thing is about relationships, of how to create effective, loving, kind ones. If I can make sure that those three non-negotiables, if I can help you get into a combat sport, just so you get confidence, you can take care of yourself, help you learn about money and help you learn about relationships. If I'm gone, you're going to be all right. And it's a real battle because I took my son to jiu-jitsu and his mum was on holiday and she didn't know. So I take my son to see this guy, and it's in his garage, old school. This guy's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist. I'm like, would you teach my son a few things? He's like, yeah, no problem, Luke. So go and see this guy called Justin. He's got my son on the mat, right, on this, and my son's in a headlock. So just as my son's in a headlock, his mum messaged me, how's the kids? So Sienna's here watching Ronnie getting choked out by this guy. He's not choked, but he's like, he's telling Ronnie, right, if my arm's around your neck, what are you going to do? And he's teaching him how to get out of it in case that ever happened. So I just sent a photograph and said, Ronnie's doing great. And he was laying on the mat and she's like, what the hell? What is happening? I'm like, I took him for some lessons. We only had the one lesson. And Ronnie was like, Dad, I just want to play football. Yeah, I'm like, I know, but this will help you be a better footballer because you'll be stronger. You'll be more agile. It's really important. So it's one of them things that I've not accomplished yet. But I'm really focused on the finances. Good friend of mine teaches financial literacy. I'm getting him involved with them. I'm sharing with them the things that I'm learning about, investing, and put 100 quid away from the age of 16. You'll be a millionaire by the time you're 50, whatever the maths are. They're all like, how does that work, Dad? I'm like thinking, I don't know. But speak to my friend, he'll tell you. It's just getting them interested in stuff that I wasn't interested in and didn't know. That if you put 100 quid in your bank account from the age of 18 to I think it's 60 or something like that, you'll be a millionaire.
That's just some interest on
compound interest. But it's only 100 quid a month.
Yeah.
If my dad had done that for me, I'm 46, in another 5-6 years I'd have been a millionaire, right? And I would have been very grateful for that lump sum coming in. But no one knew about it in the environment I grew up in. So trying to teach my kids this stuff that they don't need me. And it's a great thing for me. If they don't need me other than want me, it's different. I want them to want to be with me, to want to spend time with Dad. I don't want them to be dependent on my dad as much as it feels good.
You really highlighted in your role in their life as well, like you're the protector. Probably why you wanted to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're going off your own experiences with money and providing them with money as well. So you want them to understand that. And the third one was relationships, that you value really highly now. Have you always valued them as highly as you do now, or was it something that has developed maybe in more recent years after football? Or has it been like since you were a kid? What that relationship and something you want to pass on to your kids? Why is that so important?
I think I've always loved people. Well, I know I've always loved being with people. I've always loved spending time with people, having fun. Love the sports dressing room, camaraderie, the togetherness, the will to win, the never say die attitude. You could be losing 3-0 in a sports game, but the belief that you can always win. There's nothing greater than that together as people. And when people know that you're like that, that gives them more confidence to be more like that. So you're all in it together. So as my life kind of grew, I didn't know that I valued it that much until it probably started to disappear, because when you come out of the sporting world, it's not the same. So I realised that actual real life wasn't like the sports world where everybody wanted to win together. Some wanted you to fail. As a sports person, if you needed your lace tied, someone would tie it for you. As an adult, in the business world, if people see your lace tie, they'll tie it to the other one so you fall over sometimes. And I realised that not everybody wants each other to win, but I wanted to be around people that want to win and do it the right way. So I realised as years went on that I was getting phone calls from people that I didn't know I'd not known for the last 20 years. So I always remember I was in my car trying to sell it, actually, because I had no money at the time. So I was trying to sell my car many years ago. And I got a message through from a worldwide energy business asking me if I'd be their guest speaker at an event. And I was like, okay, like, this call couldn't have come at a better time. And the numbers that they was willing to pay me for that talk was astronomical. So I was sat in this car and I said, how did you hear of me? And they said, you used to play football with a guy. Now, the guy that I used to play football with was a guy called Stuart Taylor. It was in 1997. It was 20 years or whatever it was ago that I'd never seen him since. And he was 2 years younger than me. So I'd never played in the same team as him. Never really trained with him, maybe once or twice, because I was like a reserve team player. He was a youth team player. I was trying to break through to the first team, and he was a new youth trainee. So 20 years later, he's recommending me to be the keynote speaker because he's the sales director at this worldwide business because of who I was in 1997.
Wow.
And I asked him the question. I said, how did you recommend? I mean, you don't even know what I do, really. You just see little bits. He said, I just knew that whatever you were doing now, you'd be good. Just because of how you was. He said, the person you was then, I knew what you're doing now, you'd be good. Why I put my trust in you. And I started to think, what is that? You know, I failed as a football player, but some ingredient I had. And I didn't know this stuff because as years have gone on, people would say, some of the older lads used to be a bit disrespectful to us and treat us negatively, and you never did. You was always great with us. And I can't remember being great with them because it was just how I would have been with them. And one of the big moments for me was when I got a message on social media once from a guy that said, would you be interested in coming to America and doing a talk to the college that I work at? I said, yeah. He went, you might not remember me. And I said, okay. He said, I used to come and watch Blackburn Rovers youth team. That's where I was as a young professional. They just won the Premier League. So the following season, I was in the youth team. He said, I used to come and watch the youth team play because one of my best mates played in the same team. And typical youngsters, after the game, would go out for food and go for a few drinks. He said, and I didn't know anybody. And you always made me welcome.
Wow.
And I was like, is that it? It's like 20 years later.
Remembered that one thing.
20 years later. So it's like, so I'd love you to come to America. And I went to America for 10 days, slept on his couch, and I ended up doing multiple talks to multiple teams. And these teams started going on these mad running streaks and winning. And the teams, not me, was putting it down to the seminars that we did about it, create that emotional energy of that never say die. But it was all because I made him welcome in a group of people. He said, you was always the one that would come and see how I was and bring me in. And I can't remember doing it because it's a subconscious thing that I've been taught from my parents, my grandparents, Mr. Spencers of the world, that then I've just done it because that's what you do. I didn't realise that was different. And as the years went on, more of them things would come back. And I was like, gosh, I'm getting opportunities 2 decades later because I'm a good guy from back then. Yeah. Even though I was mischievous and I was very mischievous, and I would always play pranks. I was always one of the boys in that sense, but I had the core goodness. And I just thought, wow, isn't it incredible that relationships from 20 years ago can serve me well now, all these years later. And the last thing I'll share with you was when we played in the Champions League, we beat Azerbaijan, a team called FC Shamkur from Azerbaijan, when we visited the orphanage. We got drawn against Porto. So obviously we're earning £200-300 a week. We have 400 or 500 fans watch every game, and now we're playing Porto. We knew we weren't going to win. So we was going for a bit of a jolly up until a sports psychologist from Liverpool was sent to do some work with us because we needed it. And he did one exercise with us, and he gave us all a notepad, And on the front of the notepad, you would have Brad, you would have Ryan, you'd have Luke. And when you got the notepad, it would just say Ryan on the front of the notepad. And you had to just sit for a minute and think of what I admired about you. And then I had to open it and write and not be swayed by anybody else's thoughts. I had to think, Ryan, what do I admire about Ryan? I admire his courage to make changes in his life. I admire him as a parent because he puts Harlow first. I admire his drive to create a podcast without the resources. So you would write what you admire, and it went round 20 players, and then he'd say, who wants to share their book? So then what you would do, stand up, just open your book, and it was like just this injection of belief in yourself that we could win. So you would read out what all your teammates have said about you in this notepad, and you went around the room and everybody read it out, and honestly we then thought we could win. We literally, after that, was like, we can beat these. Like, we can beat these. And we went with that mentality that we could win. That notepad, I've still got it to this day. That was in 2001.
That's amazing.
I've still got the notepad. And one of my great friends that was in that same team that wrote those words down for me, he hired me for BMW because of that person that I was in 2001. He hired me in 2021, I think it was, to go and do some work for BMW. And it's all because of those characteristics that they wrote down in the book. Now, you wouldn't know I was a footballer if you read that book. You would just look at it as a person, because we talked about this earlier. It's not what you do, it's who you are. So that book has served me well because of the character and the DNA of me. So then I thought, I just need to put more into that, more into me, more into being kinder, giving more to the world. I love it and enjoy it. Build more relationships, create more experiences for more people to be in this arena, be in this aura, create opportunities for Les for a platform to shine, create opportunities for that police officer to want to ring his 83-year-old teacher. You can keep sparking that in people. Good things happen. When good things happen, the world's a better place. And that's always been my philosophy. And my children hear me talking like this, because if they were sat there now, they wouldn't say, Dad, you were different today. Like, this is who I am. And which is a beautiful thing, that you can be who you are and then not have to change because of an environment that you're in, because the right people will get attracted in and the wrong ones will disappear that you want them to anyway. You're not going to please everybody. Some people will think you're full of shit. Some people will love you, and it's okay. The ones that love you, great. The ones that don't, I can't do any more than just be me.
You said one of the most fantastic things a minute ago. You said, I want to win, but I want to win in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much sums you up. You want to keep striving for more. You want to keep improving yourself, everyone around you, and you want to bring people along that journey. I think your message with the way you talk and what you're doing. Sorry, Walter's drinking my drink there. That's not my drink anymore, it's Walter's. It's super inspiring. It's probably one of the most inspiring, I would say, conversations we've had on the podcast so far. I genuinely stand by that. I really do. We've had some fantastic guests on, but just your message and what you've been through, and it's inspired me. It really has.
Appreciate that.
You know, and I knew it was going to be good. I knew from the TED Talk it was going to be good, but yeah, definitely exceeded expectations for sure.
I think for us to inspire Teddy, Harlow, and many other kids, where can we get Credo, please, Luke? Where can we pick it up?
Yeah, you can just get Credo through my website, lukestaton.com. As soon as you click on there, the link pops up to purchase it. If people want signed copies, they can leave a note if I want it, you know, to Teddy or to Harlow, whoever it is, and do all that we can to give it that personal touch. I'm not in a position that I'm selling hundreds of thousands of copies, so it's a wonderful thing that I can give it a bit more of that human touch. My book signing was the longest ever book signing the bookstore had ever done, because everybody that took their time to come and queue got my time too.
Yeah.
Although I was being told to hurry up and move, because people was leaving and coming back hours later because I was just asking questions of the people in front of me. And I was grateful that people travelled to come and get my book. I had my old...
Sorry, Matt.
Gardener.
Yeah.
It's like Gardener, is it?
Sorry.
That's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, is that all right? Close that window. Thank you. He's chosen the right time now. I need to come.
Is it your gardener?
I hope it's either my garden or the council.
Well, we got it. Do you want me to do it? We got it?
Yeah, that's better.
Sound.
Oh, we've had Walter, get out of there, you.
What was I saying there?
Bless him. And signed copies.
Signed copies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So my secondary school PE teacher, I'd not seen him for 32 years. He travelled from Newcastle to Retford, so about 3+ hours on a train. I knew he was coming to the night do because I'd invited him on Facebook. I'd not seen him for all those years. And he actually turned up in the queue. He queued up for a couple of hours to surprise me, and got a copy of my book. Emotional, really. He hugged me, and he was very emotional. And I think he was surprised as well that I'd written a book. He was like, can't believe you've written a book. And, you know, when you knew me back then, you would know why he said that. My grades was horrific. Didn't put the energy into school. I was just football crazy. But he was a great ally of mine. He used to give me a lift to school. If you saw me walking, he'd pull over, give me a lift, which you couldn't do now. Yeah. He played in the same football team that my dad coached, so they was friends. And his name's Mr. Brown. I remember he put me on school report. Actually, I was on what was called back then bad behaviour report, because my dad was the manager of his team. My dad come home one day on a Sunday and said, "Sonny, you got anything to tell me?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "How's school?" I was like, "Yeah, good." He's like, "You're on bad behaviour report." I was like, "How do you know?" He said, "Mr. Brown told me today in the pub after the game." And Mr. Brown let it slip and then was devastated. He told my dad because he felt I should have told my dad, but I didn't. So relationships like that, it's all back to that thing about people travelled to my book signing that I'd not seen. My friend Marvin, who was the BMW guy, travelled all the way from Birmingham to come to the book signing. A friend of mine from Wales who I'd not seen for probably 10, 15 years. I played football with in 2002 or 3. Travelled with his wife to the book signing. So all these people that stay connected to you, it's all about the relationships. So when I'm giving out the books and signing the books to them, to me it's not a book, it's just that connection of, you know, your message is now in their hands and they can do what they want with it. And I always write the date when I can in the top corner of when I'm signing the book, because I love it when I buy a book from an antique store that'll say like 1903. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I wonder who's read this book. I wonder who's felt the pages. I wonder who wrote that message. You know, like the Lesers of the world who's 91. You want their messages to live on, don't you? And I get quite nostalgic in their moments. I'm like, I wonder who wrote this.
How many generations it's been through.
Correct. And I hope that Credo gets passed from the child that's 9 years of age, Joseph, that writes the story of the book on the back of the book. I hope that when he's 29, and if he does have children, his 9-year-old, 5-year-old reads the book, and then their child reads the book, and that book will hopefully stay within that family for generations. That's my dream, because it will outlive me, hopefully.
Love it.
Any final questions?
No,
Luke?
honestly, just to thank you, mate. Like, seriously,
been very generous with your time today. Yeah,
same as Ryan. It's just been a big inspiration for, I think, for both of us and anyone listening, just to show that if you do look introspective as a parent and you think, how can I be a better parent, you're on a good path. But these little refined messages and stories like yours just teach us how to do it better.
If you want to be that hero, this is the one. That might be the tagline. If you want to be the hero, this is the episode for you, for sure.
You've got to do it.
Luke, mate, thank you so
Pleasure,
much.
Mate, thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, mate.
Quick question
Honestly.
for you before you finish.
So
we sat here again in a year's time. So we sit here in 12 months' time. What's one thing that you both will share with me that you've gone on to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
I want to run a marathon.
Yeah,
I want to run a marathon. Yeah, I want to tick that box. So I'm hoping in a year's time, if we do part 2, that's something we can talk about.
Yeah, I would like to do more public speaking on a topic I'm really passionate about, which is how to be a 20% PT, make it through that first year. What do you need to do to achieve it and get through it? It's a big passion of mine, and it's a message that needs sharing, in my opinion.
Fantastic. So in a year's time, we've got the recording now.
Yeah, okay.
Timestamp it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start with those 2, see if we've done them or not.
Brilliant.
I'll blame my knees if not.
Amazing. Luke, if people want to carry on the conversation, where can they drop you a message and say hello?
Yeah, just social medias, just Luke Staton, Instagram, TikTok. Not great on TikTok. We're trying to up our game on there. Just my website. You can email through there. So I'm always contactable, and I love to connect with people. So if people want to ask questions, they can ask them. I'll always get back to them at some point. And we run events all the time that I think that people would enjoy. You two guys would absolutely love. We do events that those Les moments are happening all the time. Very difficult for me to cascade the message of what happens in them rooms sometimes. And we're doing all that we can, like you guys are, to share the message and show it as it's happening in real time, because when people see it and feel it, they want to be part of it. But you both know yourself that anything that you're looking to do and achieve and grow, you've got to get through that early stage where nobody knows you, nobody's interested in you, nobody knows why they should be interested in you. But once you start to get some traction and you gain some momentum, it can really, like that hockey stick moment, it's like things can go really fast for you. So anybody that listens to this that's interested, that want to be in these rooms that we're talking about, these moments, we're creating these experiences regular. Just people don't know them yet. And hence why coming on something like this is great, because you'll attract like-minded people that want what you've got, want what I've got, we want what they've got. And you have to get that community, because community transforms the world. It really does. So any platform.
Love it. Thank you so much, Luke.
Yeah, amazing. Guys, thank you for joining us on the Fit Dads podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
See you soon.
Thank you.